Hello, hello. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Chasing Labels, or spine number, rather, of Chasing Labels. And this is spine number 171. I am your host, Andrew, and we will be diving into many of the things we get up to here, usually on Chasing Labels. But for those of you joining me here for the first time, welcome. Uh, and if you're not familiar with what we do here, basically within a 2 week time period, usually every 2 weeks or so, we go over many of the physical media, home video announcements in the boutique label world of movies. Essentially, it's not everything because there's just so much stuff that gets announced now that you really can't keep up with it. Well, you can, but it'll drive you crazy. But it's usually things that I'm interested in adding to my collection at some point, or things I'm just interested in general, which tends to be a lot, I guess. But I guess I'm a man of varying tastes, if you will. But before we get into all of that stuff, I do like to do a little bit of a collection update, if you will. Just because I can kill two birds with one stone, as the old saying goes. I can show off some of the stuff I've got, plus do the Chasing Labels episode too. So I figured, why not multitask? Because that's always the name of the game when it comes to doing anything in life now. You got to multitask. So there's a series of things that I picked up recently over the last 2 months or so. I've been trying to fill certain gaps within my collection, get things that I've been wanting to get for several years now. I just didn't happen to have the chance, so I was just putting it off to be like, "Oh, I can get that whenever. I'll get it later." You know what I mean? I'm a terrible procrastinator. I don't know if any of you have procrastination issues as well. It seems to permeate throughout every aspect of my life, including movie collecting, which is one of my main things. But without further ado, a couple of things I picked up on eBay actually. So these are all like eBay pickups. I've been buying movies on eBay since I started collecting DVDs in the mid to late 2000s. But first up here is probably a movie I think came and went so fast many, many years ago. It's a Richard Linklater film that I don't think anybody really talks about anymore, and that is Where Do You Go, Bernadette? This is the movie starring Kate Blanchett. I went to the theaters and saw this. I think I did a review for it here on this YouTube channel at one point when I was doing, weekly or so movie reviews. And I'm a big fan of Richard Linklater. He's one of my favorite directors of all time, and I just want to buy all of his stuff, which is a little tough now because his most recent film, the one starring Glenn Powell, is and Adria Arjona, is on Netflix, and as many of us know, most things that get released on Netflix never see the light of day when it comes to Blu-ray releases or even DVD releases for the most part. But I got Where'd You Go, Bernadette? And this was actually, I think, one of the last movies that was released by 20th Century Fox, I think on Blu-ray and maybe even in theaters before the merger with Disney, or the acquisition by Disney, rather. And now 20th Century Fox is no more. It's now 20th Century Studios. And then Fox Searchlight became what, Searchlight Pictures or Searchlight Studios, something like that. But anywho, this is Where'd You Go, Bernadette. I also got this because a friend of mine, uh, her uncle worked on the movie. I think he did the audio, or he worked on the audio for this movie. So I wanted to get that. Next up is a movie that I've had a history with, in the sense, like, I thought I've owned this movie for the longest time. I thought I had it, then I couldn't find it in my collection. And I think the reason why I thought I owned it is because I saw it all the time in stores, specifically in bargain bins, and I thought I had bought it on Blu-ray, but I guess I never did. And now the 4K came out, so I was like, hey, now I can get the 4K, and that is the movie Twister, the movie starring Bill Paxton and Helen Hunt, the famous disaster movie from the 90s. They just did a sequel to it that came out last year called Twisters. Called Twisters. Not exactly the most original title that you've ever seen, but they did make a sequel, coincidentally starring Glenn Powell, who I just talked about. He's been all over the place lately, but this is the classic movie Twister. I heard this 4K looks absolutely fantastic. It's been so many years since I've seen this movie, but I remember it so well. I mean, great character actors in here as well. The late great Philip Seymour Hoffman is in this film too. Twister. Finally glad to add it to the collection. You know, I thought, like I said, I thought I owned it on Blu-ray for so long because it was so cheap for so long. I figured I must have picked it up. And then here is the movie that actually came out last year, which I talked about a few times here on Chasing Labels, specifically before it came out in theaters, and then during it came out, and then afterwards. And that is the movie Maxine, the Ty West film. This is the movie that completes the, I guess you could say, X trilogy, or the Maxine trilogy, or whatever you may call it. I'm not even sure what this trilogy is called, but it has the movie X, the movie Pearl, and the movie Maxine to kind of close it out. And this movie stars, oh goodness, I'm forgetting her name. But Mia Goth, it says it right here. Thank goodness they put it there. It says Mia Goth is sublime, according to the New York Times. Jeanette Katsoulis. But I finally picked this up on 4K. I was wanting to pick up the 4K, even though I have the Blu-ray for the first two films. Um, and I wanted to close out I wanted to close out the trilogy. I have this OCD collecting thing when it comes to franchise, when it comes to trilogies, when it comes to series in general. I have to get them all regardless of quality. And I was a little disappointed with Maxine and the way this whole thing kind of finished out, but um here it is. Here it is on 4K. Next up here is a movie that I've talked about many times here on Chasing Labels, because I talked about it when it was announced. I talked about it when the date was announced that it was coming out. I talked about the special features for it, and this is the John Candy, John Hughes film Uncle Buck, the 4K UHD release of this movie. Thank goodness. Thank goodness this came out, because the old Blu-ray doesn't look very good, especially as the years have gone on and the Blu-ray technology has gotten so much better and high definition has gotten so much better. And then now we have, um, now we've got 4K UHD releases, and I have to say, this movie looks great in 4K. This release is really, really great. Just picture quality alone is a massive upgrade from the old Blu-ray, which I think is like maybe 15 years old at this point, somewhere around there. Maybe less than that, but it's a pretty old Blu-ray. And you've got two commentaries on here. You got the commentary with film historian Alexandra Heller Nicholas and Josh Nelson. Alexandra Heller Nicholas has been on Chasing Labels before. You also have an audio commentary of film historian Joe Ramone. 16 going on 17 interview with actress Jean Louise Kelly. That's really awesome. So Uncle Buck, man, own this movie any way you can. It's such a fun watch and fun rewatch. You've got John Candy being his, all-time great in this. Amy Madigan's in the film. You've got, oh goodness, who else is in it? Macaulay Culkin is in the film as well. Abby Hoffman, they play the two little kids in there. They're great. Jean Louise Kelly is the older sister. Really great movie, great comedy, just moves really fast. Switching things up massively in tone here from a lovely family comedy with John Candy to an anime that I consider one of the saddest movies I've ever seen. And this is Grave of the Fireflies. This just got a Blu-ray re-release last month. This got a Blu-ray re-release, a standard edition here with the slipcover that's put out by G Kids / Shout Factory. And this is also available on Steelbook too, as all of these Studio Ghibli films are. So you can get it either way. I've consistently bought them with the slipcover, so therefore I got to keep things consistent. My collecting OCD is kicking in, and so we got to keep things consistent. And this is Grave of the Fireflies. Like I said, one of the saddest movies I've ever seen. I think about this movie and it makes me sad. But I'm glad G Kids and Shout Factory re-released it, because there was an old Blu-ray that once again came out many, many years ago. But this is a new release, and so it fits nicely on the shelf with all the other Studio Ghibli films that they put out. Next up is an MCU film. I am so far behind on collecting MCU content, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, that I've got to catch up ever so slowly. But unfortunately, the movies never really go on sale to the point where the price is too good to be true or too good to pass up on. So you have to go the alternative route. You have to go to eBay and see if you can find some deals on there. And I found a deal for this, and this is Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, the 4K UHD release with the slipcover. This is the uh, the sequel to Black Panther. It is a much a a melancholic sequel to Black Panther, obviously with the passing of Chadwick Boseman, who was, the massive star of Black Panther. This is the Ryan Coogler film as well, so I had to get that because I own well, all of the other Ryan Coogler films, which leads me to another Ryan Coogler film, and that's kind of why I bought this, because I needed to catch up on my Ryan Coogler films, because I also bought Sinners. Sinners is my current favorite movie of 2025, so therefore, I had to buy it. You know what I mean? I like to at least get all of my favorite movies from a specific year. Number ones, number ones in terms of like my all time favorites of the year, within the year that they come out, just to have them really, and of course to rewatch and whatnot. But Sinners, by Ryan Coogler, is, in my opinion, the best movie of the year I've seen so far. And I've seen quite a few. I've seen like 50 to 60 new movies from this year so far, and Sinners is still on top. It's still on top. It's going to be a hard movie to beat, but there are some movies coming down the road, because we're going to get into award season, the fall movie season, which you get some heavy hitters during that time frame. We're getting a new Paul Thomas Anderson film starring Leonardo DiCaprio. That's, of course, high up on my list of things I have to see. But one more thing here, speaking of big things on the horizon, well, this finally came out this month, and this is the Arrow 4K UHD release of The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, the Sergio Leone film, the classic, the seminal, the quintessential, many may say the best spaghetti western of all time, maybe the best western of all time. Um, I wouldn't argue against any of that. I wouldn't. There's a strong argument to be made about all of those statements. And this movie here is an epic. This is Sergio Leone doing a David Lean epic. Sergio Leone was a massive fan of David Lean and always wanted to make a David Lean type of movie. If you don't know who David Lean is a classic all-time great filmmaker, a British filmmaker. He made Lawrence of Arabia, okay, a massive epic. He made Doctor Zhivago, another epic. That movie's actually an epic romance, but you understand what I'm saying. Big, sprawling, beautiful movies, and this movie here is a big, sprawling, beautiful western. And this release here is probably one of the most popular and probably highest selling releases in the boutique label world. At least that from what I've seen so far, for this year. This is a tough ticket to get. It's a tough ticket to get. My friends over at Orbit DVD, Mark, who runs Orbit DVD, um, they spent days just fulfilling hundreds of pre-orders for this movie. Like hundreds, maybe thousands. I don't know how much, but just boxes on top of boxes of sending out pre-orders for this release. And then he was fortunate enough to have some left over for people to buy who did not pre-order, like my dumb self. I typically don't pre-order movies, and I should have pre-ordered this. I should have known that The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly would have been a hot, hot seller. And like an idiot, I did not. But he had some left over. He put them on sale on noon, sometime last week. I think it was last Wednesday. Yeah, last Wednesday, and they sold out in 10 minutes. This sold out in 10 minutes, plus copies of uh, uh, A Fistful of Dollars and For a Few Dollars More, which luckily I already had. Thank goodness I bought those when I had the chance. So here's The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, and then we've got here's A Fistful of Dollars, and then here is For a Few Dollars More. So you can see, I got them all. This is the first. This is great. I was gonna say this is the first time I've owned them all, but that's not true. I've bought these movies so many times. So here they all are, and if you look on the side here, they form a picture, which is kind of cool. I really like that. Yeah, it's only on this side because the other side does not form this picture. So that's really nice. Like I said, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, all time film. I'm gonna dive into each of these. I watched A Fistful of Dollars. I think I watched it around when I got it, but this looks excellent, absolutely excellent. 4K UHD, and then a bonus disc on Blu-ray. I think for a few dollars more is the same. Yeah, 4K UHD disc, and then the extras disc is a Blu-ray. So you only get the movie in 4K. You do not get the movie on Blu-ray. And then this is the same. Actually, this is a four disc set. For yeah, that makes sense. Good, the bad, the ugly. You get a 4K, let's say discs 1 and 2 international and extended cuts 4K Ultra HD Blu-ray, discs 3 and 4 extras, and then Sad Hill on Earth, which is a documentary, I believe. I think I'm gonna maybe do a separate video on these, just because there's so much to get into with all these sets that we don't have the time to do that here now. But I want to make sure to tell people that I've added them to the collection, and all that stuff. But without further ado, let's get into what we typically get into here on Chasing Labels. Let me just move all this back to where it was. Um, and we have some comments here. So before we get into the announcements, our buddy Jeff is here in the comments. He says, "Evening, good evening, Jeff. Nice to see you." Um, and then Jeff also says Kevin Bacon is super fun in Maxine. He is. He is hamming it up in that movie, which makes sense if you watch the movie. His over the topness makes a lot of sense. Coincidentally, Jeff is the one who has the Toshiro Mifune Yojimbo picture as his avatar. And famously, A Fistful of Dollars is a remake of Yojimbo, the Akira Kurosawa film. Also, there was a remake recently of Akira Kurosawa's High and Low, which was made by Spike Lee, called Highest to Lowest, starring Denzel Washington. That is getting a limited run in the theaters right now, and I think it will be streaming on Apple TV Plus September 5th, which is right around the corner. The summer has sped by so damn fast. It's like lightning, absolutely lightning. So let's get into some of announcements today. We've got some exciting things to talk about. I will be going over the Criterion announcements that were from today. So I will be gushing about the releases of Eyes Wide Shut, as well as The Breakfast Club, as well as Elle, the Louis Buñuel film, as well as House Party. My goodness, House Party is part of the Criterion collection now. That's pretty awesome. We'll be getting all of that. We'll be getting to all of that later. That will probably be at the very end of the show. That will be our grand finale of this Chasing Labels episode. And I will be talking about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles trilogy that's also got announced from Arrow. We didn't get all of the details about it. I think they're saving those details to be announced. I heard next month, which is kind of crazy to me. I don't know why, because I know Arrow still has an announcement to come out this month, which I assuming will be either this week or next week. Um, so we will see. We will see. Either way, I've got a little bit of an inside track on that release, which I will discuss when I bring it up. But I guess we'll start off. We'll start off with Warner Archive. I like to start off with Warner Archive. They arrived pretty late this month in terms of announcing things. This is their September releases, I guess. So it is, I guess, giving people some time. Not a lot of announcements for September, but anytime we can get some Warner Archive stuff, I'm all for it. So we've got a few films here. Let's dive into this. And there's one TV show thing, which I'll just mention because I like TV animation. That's my thing. Let's see. The movies are I Died a Thousand Times from 1955, The Beast of the City from 1932, The Beggar's Opera from 1953, Black Samson from 1974. That's a blaxploitation film. And then the TV thing, and I guess you could say the animation thing as well, is Touche, Turtle, and Dum Dum, the complete series, 1962 to 1963. Excuse me. But let's get into things. So I Died a Thousand Times from 1955 is stars Humphrey Bogart. Well, it's based on the Humphrey Bogart star-making classic High Sierra. I don't think it stars Humphrey Bogart. My bad. It's been a while since I've seen it. This movie stars Jack Palance, Shelley Winters, Lee Marvin's in the film. Let's see. Let me read the blurb that they've got here. Let's see. Based on the Humphrey Bogart star-making classic High Sierra, I Died a Thousand Times brings the enveloping expanse of CinemaScope and a new color restoration to the gritty saga of old-timer Roy Mad Dog Earl, Jack Palance. Just released from prison and leading nervous small-timers, Lee Marvin and Earl Holman on a res- resort heist fated not to go like clockwork. Soft-hearted Earl is so drawn to a crippled girl, Laurie Nelson, cur- that he pays for a curative operation, but when things go wrong, it's a brassy dime a dance girl, Shelley Winters, who stands beside him. Veterans Lon Chaney and Mae Clark and newcomers Dennis Hopper and Richard Davalos are featured in the top flight cast, with a taut script by High Sierra novelist W.R. Burnett and a heart-pounding manhunt finale. I Died a Thousand Times is a rousing, memorable thriller newly remastered in high definition for this release from 4K scans of the original camera negative. Now, they do not announce any what the special features are, which is kind of a bummer. Let me go to see if I can go to Warner Archives um, Facebook page. Well, it's Warner Classics now. So if you're on Facebook and you're looking for Warner Archives official Facebook page, you have to look under Warner Classics. Why they changed the name, I still don't know to this day. So that's pretty annoying. Let's see. Um, I still need to get Splendor in the Grass. Someone needs to remind me. I still need to get it. Let's see. They die with their boots on. All right. Oh, here we go. I died a thousand times. Let's see. Oh, here we go. So 4K scan of the original camera negative. Let's see. Special features: classic cartoons, hairbrush, and Sahara hair. Original theatrical trailer. Okay, so they're basically there are no special features. Let me go to my letterboxed, see if I can get a better synopsis, because I don't think that synopsis really told us anything. Let's see, thousand time. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it just says after aging criminal Roy Earl is released from prison, he decides to pull one last heist before retiring. Yeah, the Roy Earl character is Jack Palance. So okay, so it didn't really give us much there either. So let's see. So that's I Died a Thousand Times. I remember seeing this movie and I remember really liking it a lot. It's got that film noir vibe to it. So if you like film noir, definitely check that out. If you're a fan of Jack Palance, check that out. If you want to see a very young Dennis Hopper, check it out. When they say Lon Chaney, I'm pretty sure it's Lon Chaney Jr. because Lon Chaney Sr. had passed away long before then. This is coming out September 30th. And then we have Beast of the City. So Metro Goldwyn Mayer took a page from Warner Brothers playbook with this gritty pre-code gangster classic, which provided a major step in the career of its leading lady, Jean Harlow. Walter Houston leads the cast as a respected police captain who leads the fight against a vicious gangland chief. Adapted from a story by W.R. Burnett, whose Little Caesar broke new ground for the genre a year before. The Beast of the City is a gripping and exciting tale, now remastered and restored for its Blu-ray debut. So this is it's a gangster film from the 30s, very much in the same vein as the classic Warner Brothers gangster films of that time. They mentioned Little Caesar, so think of Little Caesar, think of Edward G. Robinson, think of James Cagney, think of those gangster movies of that time. And yeah, so I remember seeing this film as well, and I remember really, really liking it too. Let me see who directed the Beast of the City. Charles Brabin. I don't know who that is. But I love Jean Harlow. I love Jean Harlow. I think, unfortunately she passed away way too young. Um, she was really kind of a queen of like pre-code and 1930s films. Just absolutely fantastic. I like to buy as much Jean Harlow as I possibly can, which reminds me I need to get some more of her stuff. I have a few things that are available so far, but there's some other things I haven't gotten yet. Uh, but let's see if there's anything in terms of special features on here. Um, like I said, they usually the Blu-ray.com press release shows you all of those details, and for some reason they didn't post any of it. Um, it's really nothing here. So special features, classic cartoons, Goopy Gear, and Bosco and Bruno. So we're just getting like classic animation stuff on there. So really nothing to write home about, other than we're getting 4K scan of the best preservation elements. So at least it's going to look good. Let me bounce back to the next film. So we have The Beggar's Opera. Now this stars Laurence Olivier. A lot of singing in this movie. This is kind of an opera, like a cinematic version of an opera. That's really what it is. So Laurence Olivier makes his singing debut in this lively Technicolor adaptation of John Gay's 18th century theatrical piece. Olivier stars as Captain Macheath, the leader of of England's bandits and cutthroats. Macheath is in love with Polly Peachum, who is portrayed by Dorothy Tootin, the daughter of Beggar King Peachum. He has also dallied with Lucy, the daughter of corrupt Constable Lockett. Since it is in the best interest of both Peachum and Lockett to rid the world of Macheath, the two conspire to imprison and hang the scoundrel. While waiting to be hanged, the captain is entertained by a musical beggar who has written an opera in which the highwayman is the hero. So this movie is bookended by this Macheath character in prison. And this beggar opera writer, it tells him a tale that he's made about him, where he is this grandiose hero and all this kind of stuff, kind of like a Robin Hood, if you will, or more like actually like a, uh, yeah, I was gonna say kind of like a Robin Hood, but like a, yeah, like this grand hero. I couldn't pull the name right now. I don't know why. But who actually played Robin Hood in the classic Michael Curtiz film of Robin Hood and His Merry Men. It's not Robin Hood and His Merry Men, but let me see. Adventures of Robin Hood. That's the name of the movie. Adventures of Robin Hood. Speaking of which, I don't know why that movie hasn't received some type of upgrade. That Blu-ray is very old of Michael Curtiz's The Adventures of Robin Hood. It looks good, but my goodness, that movie in 4K with that Technicolor, the greens and the reds and the browns. Oh my goodness, The Adventures of Robin Hood will look stunning on 4K. I'm hoping that Warner Archive, that's one of their next 4Ks, because I think that thing would sell so well and would do gangbusters with classic movie fans. Errol Flynn. It's kind of like as if Laurence Olivier was like an Errol Flynn type level of hero in this movie. And there's a lot of singing, a lot of songs. It's a musical. It's operatic. All these kinds of things. So you gotta really like musicals to like this movie. If you don't, then I don't think this is not the movie for you. The Beggar's Opera. To stay away from it. Stay away from it. Coming out September 30th. Let's see what we got here for special features, if there are indeed any at all. Um, let's see. It's also kind of worth it to see Laurence Olivier singing. So special features, classic cartoons, hair trimmed, and Much Ado About Nothing. That's it. Let's move back. Black Samson. So Black Samson is a 1974 blaxploitation movie. One brother's war against the man. Rockney Tarkington stars in this blaxploitation fan favorite. When white drug dealers try to move their operation into the hood, they do not plan on a local nightclub owner, a master of martial arts known locally as Black Samson. They try to make a deal. They try to kill him, but when they beat up his girlfriend, the dealers go too far. Samson leads his pet lion and the people of the neighborhood in a war that drives the drug pushers out of Samson's piece of the hood. Newly mastered for Blu-ray from 4K scans of the original camera negative. That literally sums up this movie. Literally, that's what this movie is about. You've got Samson, he has a pet lion, and he's fighting these white drug dealers that are trying to infiltrate his neighborhood, corrupt his neighborhood. They're racist, they're bad guys, and he's trying to get them out of there. Cool soundtrack, great vibes. It's blaxploitation. It's the 70s. Yeah, if you're into all of that, this is definitely a movie you got to check out. Let me see what we got here for special features, if there are indeed any. Um, Nothing, just the original theatrical trailer. That is it. It's the 4K scan of the original camera negative, coming out September 30th, and that is Black Samson from 1974. Quickly, let's the Touche Turtle and the Dum Dum, the complete series description. Touche away. So began the 52 episodes of this delightful series of animated adventures featuring the swashbuckling hero Touche Turtle and his faithful sheepdog companion Dum Dum. One of three different new cartoon series introduced by Hanna-Barbera for the 1962-1963 television series, the first ever complete collection of the cartoon antics starring Touche Turtle and Dum Dum makes its home video debut with this newly remastered and restored Blu-ray release. This is awesome because we don't see this a lot. We don't see a lot of not only animation getting old classic 60s animation getting Blu-ray releases. This is something that's new. It's only been happening now for like the last couple of years, maybe. It's been a struggle to get these on high definition, to get these in high quality. They've been doing a lot with Looney Tunes. They've been doing a lot with the old Scooby-Doo movies and things like that. They've been doing things with a lot of the old Hanna-Barbera series, like Tomcat and all this kind of stuff. They just announced a Magilla Gorilla. They just not Snagglepuss, not even Deputy Dog, but you know what I'm saying. They've been all these classic cartoon Hanna Barbera things. In the past they've done a lot with the heavy hitters. They've done a lot with Flintstones and the Jetsons. They still need to put out a lot more Jetson stuff. On Blu-ray, a lot of the '80s series needs to be put out still. Those are all still stuck on like made-on-demand DVDs from Warner Archive, so that needs to come out. And the original Yogi Bear series, which I think came out in 1962, or somewhere around there. It was either 62 or 66. I have a computer. I should look this up. I don't know why I'm not. Let me do a quick Google search for Yogi Bear. I should know this stuff. Let's see, Yogi Bear, the comic book character. When did you premiere, Mr. Yogi Bear? One of my favorites. Let's see, Yogi Bear's Big Break, the Huckleberry Hound show in 1958. That's his first appearance. Let me check out his television series. Yeah, Yogi Bear show was 1961. I was 1 year off. I was 1 year off. But that still needs a Blu-ray release as well. So one of my big collecting goals, I've said this here on Chasing Labels before, is to collect all of the classic Hanna-Barbera cartoons. There's so many of them throughout the decades. Scooby-Doo is a big one for me. I've been slowly getting a lot of Scooby-Doo in the collection, especially now that they're coming out on Blu-ray. But a lot of the series still need to get upgraded, so I'm waiting for that. Who knows if that's ever going to happen? There's a lot of obscure Yogi Bear stuff out there. I'm sorry, obscure Scooby-Doo stuff. But this series here, like I said, kind of a little unprecedented. Let's see if there's anything in terms of special features for this. I think it's just a marvel that the show is getting released at all. But doesn't look like there's anything in the way of special features, which is fine. It's a 2-disc set? Yeah. Let me check, actually, on Blu-ray.com. It seems a little light. I know it's 52 episodes, but yeah, 2-disc set, 2 BD50s. These must be shorts. Alright, so that is Touche, Turtle, and Dum Dum, the complete series. That reminds me, I still need to get the Looney Tunes Vault collection. I've got all the choice collections, and I've got to get the Vault collection because I want to see them put out more of that stuff. And I'll be honest, the only, especially in the boutique world, especially when it's an offshoot of a mainstream studio. This is Warner Archive. Obviously, it's attached to Warner Brothers. The only way we're going to see more of this stuff get released is if the stuff they put out sells well. That's the only way that's going to happen. And that's mostly due because they're part of the big studios. When it's the big studios, finances are everything. I know finances are a big thing for everybody, but specifically big studio stuff, it's important to them that things sell well. I've seen it many, many times where if things don't sell well, they will not put out the rest of them. That happens with television a lot. There are still incomplete series of TV out there that only had their first season or 2 put out, or maybe a little bit more, and then they never saw the light of day. I'm talking about, Malcolm in the Middle, which they're bringing back, actually. I don't think Malcolm in the Middle ever got more than 1 season released on DVD. That was about it. I could check that right now, which I probably should, but I'm pretty sure that that was it. Let's see. Um, and that was a big, show on Fox back in the day. Yeah, Malcolm Middle, still first season, came out in 2002, and they never released anything after that. I would hope that with the coinciding with the new release, they'd put out more, but I don't see that happening, unfortunately. I mean, I've I I've referenced this a lot here on Chasing Labels. It's not really what we get into here, but I can't help but stray off the beaten path. Um, the world of TV shows on home media is a bit different than movies. It's a bit different in movies in terms of people's general interest. Like I've said in the past, there was a big boom of it in the 2000s with the inception of DVD becoming mainstream, and I think into the 2010s as well. But once streaming became the thing, and I would say mid 2010s, TV on home media took a massive hit, massive hit, and that was kind of the first casualty of this whole streaming versus physical media war that's ever ongoing. That's one of the biggest massive hits. The TV on home media world still exists, nowhere near the way it was before. Like you used to be able to go into a store and there would be an entire aisle of just TV shows on DVD and Blu-ray, and they would have seasons, and and you could buy and add to your collection, all that kind of stuff. You can't do that now. You can't do that now, at all. But let's move on from Warner Archive before I get any more deep into that rabbit hole. So for Warner Archive, just a quick recap. You've got I Died a Thousand Times, The Beast of the City, The Beggar's Opera, Black Samson, and Touche Turtle and Dum Dum, the complete series, all coming out September 30th, 2025, so next month. So let's move on from there to something else. Let's move over to Imprint. Why not? That was the next tab that popped up for me. Now, excuse me, uh, Imprint had like 2 separate slates of things. So Imprint's got a bunch of things going on in their world. Imprint does a bunch of different, you could say lines, if you will, bunch of different lines. They've got their main line, their Imprint line, which they're up to like 500 releases now or whatever. They announced that, but they have their Imprint Asia line. They have also their Imprint TV stuff, and now they've got their Imprint kind of 4K line of stuff that they put out, and they announced that typically separate from their other stuff too. And then Viavision does their own releases of movies too. So they got a bunch of things going on over there. But for our intents and purposes, they announced they announced their October releases, and they announced their October 4K UHD releases too. So let's go in order here. So for their general Imprint collection October releases, let's get into. So they have a box set here, directed by John Huston, from 1979 to 1987, and this is basically John Huston's like last 3 movies that he ever did before he passed away in 1987. I didn't know this, but John Huston actually passed away in Rhode Island, where I'm from. He passed away in Middletown, which is down by the water, down by the sea, and he was here shooting a movie, actually, not one that he was directing, but one that he was in, starring. I think it was directed by his son, not maybe not Danny Houston. But let me actually look. John Huston, known as both an actor and director throughout his life and career. I've always loved his work. I have a John Huston section in my collection. I mean, he directed such classic seminal films as The Asphalt Jungle, Chinatown, The Treasure of the Sierra Madre. He also directed what I consider the start of film noir in The Maltese Falcon. So he was really, you know, and he was a pretty big guy. So yeah, it was a movie called, let's see, yeah, it was a movie directed by Danny Houston, Mr. Corbett's Ghost, and he was making this, I think, right before he passed away. And of course, the Houstons are a well-known Hollywood family. You have obviously John Huston, but you had his father, Walter Houston, who I just mentioned. And then yeah, Walter Houston was actually in Treasure of the Sierra Madre. So you have Walter Houston, then you have his son John Houston, then you have John Houston's children in Danny Houston and Angelica Houston. Um, who I was just thinking of the other day, Angelica Houston. I don't know why. I don't know if it was a special feature for something. Oh, she was in The Grifters, which I just watched recently because I just bought the Criterion 4K of that. And then I think you have his grandson Jack Houston, who I remember, who was an actor, but I remember him being in Boardwalk Empire. And yeah, so that's a whole family you got there. You got the Houstons, the Barrymores. I like tracking these Hollywood families. Um, but like I said, this box set here, I believe, encompasses all of the no his last three movies that he directed. I just want to make sure. Actually, maybe it's not the last three movies. It's three of the last movies that he directed. In Wise Blood, Under the Volcano, and The Dead. So it's three of his last movies, not his official last three. You know what I'm saying? Let's see. So moving on from, but I'll get into that. But I just want to go through all the other ones first. So Frankie and Johnny, which is a movie starring Michelle Pfeiffer and Al Pacino, reteaming that pair from Scarface. We have the movie Afterglow, which stars Nick Nolte, and is that Lara? I think it's Lara Flynn Boyle. And then you have K-Pax, the movie K-Pax, and then Lulu on the Bridge, starring um, Harvey Keitel. You have The Quiet American, which stars Michael Caine and Brandon Fraser. And then you have Half Nelson, starring um, Ryan Gosling. Half Nelson is a good movie. It's a movie I don't think a lot of people know of, and if they do, they don't remember it, but it is a early serious role from Ryan Gosling. I know Ryan Gosling now, people know him from, I guess, more popular things. I mean, he was just in the Barbie movie, which was an international sensation, a billion-dollar film. But Ryan Gosling, of course, was in the movie Drive. He was in, um, The Nice Guys. He was in The Place Beyond the Pines, which is a movie I talked about last time, which is a movie that I really love a lot. He was in Blue Valentine, another film that I really love a lot, a more serious movie. But Half Nelson is another serious film. You know what? Let's talk about that. Let's talk about Half Nelson right now and this release. This is Imprint Collection number 490. This movie came out in 2006, starring Ryan Gosling. There we go. Ryan Gosling stars as high school teacher with a drug addiction in this 2006 indie drama that saw him nominated for an Oscar. An inner city junior high school teacher with a drug habit forms an unlikely friendship with one of his students after she discovers his secret. Acclaimed by critics and audiences worldwide, the Chicago Sun-Times called the film a masterpiece, awarding the film 4 stars out of 4, and Paste Magazine named it at number 16 in their 50 best movies of the decade list. 1,500 copies only. That is the one thing with Imprint over the last several years, or really since they started. Their releases are numbered to 1,500, and that is pretty much it for their standard, imprint releases, if you will. I've got a few imprint releases in my collection, even just next to me here. I've got their, I guess you could say, collector's edition, limited collector's edition, if you will, collector's edition of The Bounty. I just happen to have this next to me because I need to put it on my shelf um in my drama section. So I took it out because I gotta move some things to get it in the B's. I have them in alphabetical order, but this is The Bounty, starring Mel Gibson and Anthony Hopkins. This is their classic kind of cigarette box, you know, the top loading sets. That's how they do their deluxe stuff. I've always really liked them. The one big negative with this is, as you can see here on the back, this little card here, these tend to fall off very easily because the glue becomes, unstickable very, very fast. And I like to keep everything intact as long as possible. Yeah, I don't know if I have some standard around me here just to give you guys a sense of. I think I put them all on my shelf. Anywho, before I get too distracted, we do have another comment here from Jeff. Jeff says Frankie and Johnny is a forgotten gem of a film, and it really is. We're going to get into it because it's an interesting movie. It is a kind of a very melodramatic love story of a movie between two very interesting characters portrayed by Michelle Pfeiffer and Al Pacino. We'll get into that, but let's go back to Half Nelson. So, for special features, we've got 1080p high definition presentation on Blu-ray, audio commentary by director Ryan Fleck and producer slash co-writer Anna Boden. So Ryan Fleck and Anna Boden, you may know those names. Let me just look up Half Nelson quickly on IMDb because Ryan Fleck and Anna Boden have directed several things people have probably are more familiar with than Half Nelson. Because I think they've been directing stuff all the way up till now. If IMDb would not move as slow as molasses for me, that'd be nice. So yes, mostly a lot of TV stuff. For some reason, I thought they had directed Mississippi Grind, which is an underrated gambling movie with Ryan Reynolds and um, is that and Ben Mendelsohn? That is Ben Mendelsohn. I think that movie's kind of underrated. Um, they also directed Captain Marvel. No, I don't think anyone remembers that. They directed that first Captain Marvel movie um, with what's her name, Brie Larson. Yes, Brie Larson. That movie made $1 billion. I don't think anybody remembers that movie made $1 billion. It did come out in the wake of Infinity War, so it was riding that wave. People were at that time, 2018 or so. What was that? Yeah, 2018, 2019. That wave of Marvel was massive, massive at that time. But Ryan Fleck and Anna Boden co-directed that Captain Marvel film. Coincidentally, also, Ben Mendelsohn was in that film as well. And they just directed Freaky Tales. Freaky Tales, super underrated movie that came out. Well, it came out last year, but it really came out this year. It was one of those that had like a festival run last year, but then finally got like a theatrical release this year. It's actually already out on Blu-ray and 4K, so you can get it already. Freaky Tales. It's a little anthology movie that the many of the pieces kind of connect with one another, all set in like 1987 Oakland, California. Really great cast, some really great individual pieces in there. Pedro Pascal is in it, Ben Mendelsohn is in it. I really liked it. I really, really liked it. It's called Freaky Tales. Check it out if you haven't already. Like I said, it just came out on Blu-ray and such. Actually, let me make sure I know that Lionsgate had put out a website exclusive, but I know it got a regular edition too. Yeah, it actually just came out on Blu-ray. Looks like the 4K was a Lionsgate limited exclusive VHS retro packaging. And I think that was exclusive to their website, but the regular Blu-ray, so the non 4K edition, just came out like wide. Like you can find it at like Walmart and stuff. It just came out the 12th, which was last week. Hey, what timing? What timing? What timing? Just thought I would mention that. See the way my mind goes. But as I was saying, so there's an audio commentary by Ryan Fleck and Anna Boden. Tom Dawson interviews Ryan Fleck and Anna Boden, deleted scenes and extra scenes, outtakes, theatrical trailer, DTS HD, 5.1 surround mix plus LPCM 2.0 stereo. And that's about it. It's a movie I've always really liked. I watched it, I think, on Netflix many, many years ago. Let me move this closer. I watched it on Netflix many, many years ago, and always and really, really liked it because I had heard about it for years, and it had never gotten a Blu-ray release here. I remember seeing the DVD all of the time. It got a Blu-ray release in the UK, in Germany, and of course now coming out in October in Australia from Imprint. Uh, but yeah, that's the movie Half Nelson. Curious if it's going to get a release here at any point. Who knows? Let's move on from there. Actually, let's go over to um, Frankie and Johnny. Why not? So Frankie and Johnny came out in 1991. Like I said, it is a reunion of sorts, a Scarface reunion between Al Pacino and Michelle Pfeiffer. Let's see. Gary Marshall directs Al Pacino and Michelle Pfeiffer reuniting after Scarface in a joyous 90s rom com adapted by Terrence McNally from his own stage play. Okay. I don't know if I watched the same movie. I don't know if I read the same movie. I don't know if I read this movie in the correct way. It wasn't a joyous movie. This movie is going through the grind of a relationship of two individuals who are going through a lot of their own personal things and then coming together, and sometimes those things collide with one another, and it gets to, it creates a lot of friction and creates a lot of complications within a relationship. So I don't know if it's a joyous film. Like it's not like all happy lovey dovey or anything like that. Although there are moments of romance, there are moments of passion, there are moments of genuine romantic connection and things like that. Passionate, romantic scenes and whatnot. But the movie's a little bit more serious, way more serious than that, I would say. After Frankie, a waitress at a New York City coffee shop, suffers a series of hurtful relationships, the last thing she's looking for is a new man until he comes looking for her. And the person that they're referencing is Al Pacino. Um, so Al Pacino is what this doesn't say is Al Pacino is an ex-convict. He just gets out of prison at the beginning of this movie, and he of course has to, when you are an ex-convict, you have to get a job, and you've got to, show that you're, stable employment, stable place to live, checking with your parole officer. We've seen this before. You may know people in real life who have to deal with this. You've seen it in movies and TV. You've seen it. Anywho, so ends up getting a job at this restaurant where just so happens that this Michelle Pfeiffer character happens to work at, and they strike up a relationship that turns into a romance that turns into them being together. But like I said, they both got past issues that they're dealing with. Um, yeah, Jeff kind of nails it here. The characters are very real. Jeff K says the characters are very real. Everyone seems like someone you could know. It is a drama, a comedy, a romance. Yeah, it's a mishmash of all of these things. So to say it's a joyous rom com, I don't think that's an accurate description. It is very serious, especially when you get towards like the climax of the movie, and what's interesting is that I don't want to spoil it for people, but the movie really doesn't have a culminating finale because life really continues. You know what I'm saying? Like you wonder what is going to happen to these two people. Are they going to work together? Are they not going to work together? You have that sliver of hope that it will work out, or perhaps it doesn't work out. We've seen this happen in real life so many times. Um, so yeah, the movie is a very real type of film, and I have a a friend in real life who watched this movie, and I was reading her letterboxed review, and she said basically kind of what Jeff was saying, movie being so real for her that she has been in relationships like this, and I'm pretty sure this movie has depicted a lot of real life relationships, and yeah, it can be quite a grueling task. Relationships are not easy. They are not. I don't know how people do them. I'll be honest. I am a perpetually single person. But I observe, my non-single friends. I'm very observant of people who have been in relationships, whether long term or short term. People who get married, people who get unmarried, divorced. And I'm observe all of this, and I'm like, it is really hard. And you see stories on social media all the time of people talking about past relationships and things like that. Um, but just go out sometime and just look at people with their significant others. Not in a creepy stalkerish way, but just being observant, doing your own studies. And man, it is not easy for people to be in relationships together. There's always friction, there's always complications, there's always something, you know what I mean? Yeah, and this movie's very much commenting on a lot of that. It's a really good film, directed by Gary Marshall. I wouldn't have thought to look at a movie like this and be like, "Oh, that's a Gary Marshall film." I think of Gary Marshall as like a lighter director, if you will, but not so much this film. Not so much this film. But let's get into what is in here in terms of special features. So we've got a 1080p high definition presentation on Blu-ray, a new audio commentary by film historian Scott Harrison, and that's it. We have a theatrical trailer too, but that's not really a thing. English DTS HD 5.1 surround sound plus LPCM 2.0 stereo. So you get the original sound in the 2.0 stereo plus a 5.1 mix. But I don't think this movie's been released on Blu-ray before either. At least not that I know of. At least not here. Let's see, Frankie and Johnny. Or maybe it has. I'm seeing the release. No, that's the Elvis film from 1966. Or is that Elvis? Hold on. Yep, that is the. Yeah, there's a Frankie and Johnny film from 1966 starring Elvis Presley. That is not this movie. Let's see. Yeah, it has not been released in the US yet. There was a release in no, this is it actually. This is the first time this is making its way on Blu-ray in the world. Okay. Now, in typical fashion, we've seen this happen many times here on Chasing Labels and just in the boutique world in general. When Imprint announces a release, Kino tends to announce one not so uh, not not soon after, or I don't even know if that's actually the phrase, but they seem to announce it afterward. And this feels like a Kino release. It really does. But we shall see. We shall see. But let's move on from Frankie and Johnny. This is imprint collection number 485. It does say worldwide first on Blu-ray. Wow, I should have seen that. They put it in larger font and made it bold. I completely went right by it. Let's move on from there. Let's go to the John Huston box set. So I have a couple of their box sets. I have them up there now. Usually they're actors box sets. Like I have the one for Harvey Keitel. I have the one for Jessica Lange. Steven is the one who usually gets the director ones. He usually gets. I think he's got the one for Sidney Lumet. I think there's actually two from Sidney Lumet now. I think he's got those. I still want their Walter Hill box set, even though I know it's long out of print. But I would love that. Their Sidney J. Fury box set was really nice too. That's probably long out of print as well. That's the one thing when it comes to uh, imprint. Their stuff does tend to go out of print very very fast. So they end up going for super duper collector's prices afterwards. So this box set is the John Huston box set. Directed by John Huston, 1979 to 1987. John Huston was a towering figure in Hollywood, a master storyteller and Academy Award-winning director whose career spanned decades and defined classic cinema. Special Collection brings together three of his later directing efforts, packed with drama and remarkable performances: Wise Blood, Under the Volcano, and The Dead. Wise Blood came out in 1979. Under the Volcano in 1984, and The Dead in 1987. This is a 3-disc hardbox collection, 1,500 copies only. So Wise Blood stars Brad Dourif, Ned Beatty, Amy Wright, and Harry Dean Stanton in this darkly comic adaptation of Flannery O'Connor's acclaimed novel. Fresh out of the army and drifting, Hazel Motes, who is Brad Dourif, is young, poor, and determined to make his mark, landing in the small town of Tulkingham. He founds the Church Without Christ, a provocative mission that draws eccentric followers. So Wise Blood has been available from the Criterion Collection on DVD for like 20 years. Like I remember seeing this when I used to go to the Criterion Collection sale at Barnes and Noble back in the early 2010s, like 2012, 2013, I would see this DVD there and I would be like, "Hey, are they ever gonna put this out on Blu-ray?" Criterion never did. Criterion never did. Um, I don't know if it's out of print. Let me go check their website. Um, but they could, even if it's out of print, they could get the rights back and, put it out. Let's see, Wise Blood. Let's see, 1979, John Huston. There's the DVD, and it is still in print. Okay. All right. So, um, Brad Dourif plays uh, this preacher guy. I would say like almost like a televangelist, but he's not. He's kind of trying to be an anti-televangelist, really, where um, tried to found this church of the absurd, really, where it's the church without Christ. That's what he calls it. And he's just trying to scam people out of money and scam people out of, whatever. And it's a lot more difficult than he imagined it would be. I could say that. And he ends up kind of learning or getting involved with um um Harry Dean Stanton's character, who's basically doing the same thing. Who he's trying to be this fake blind preacher who is scamming people out of money. And the whole movie, as you can imagine, is an allegory. It's satirizing kind of all of these fake preachers trying to scam people because of their religious beliefs and whatnot. And Brad Dourif is really good in the movie, and I really like the movie. I thought it was very good. Let me see what we got here for special features. Okay, so we've got 1080p high definition presentation. We've got new audio commentary by film writer and author Martin Contario. Video essay by author and critic Kat Ellinger. Okay. Interview with Brad Dourif. Interview with the writer Benedict Fitzgerald. Interview with writer producer Michael Fitzgerald. Interview with actress Amy Wright. And then you've got an audio LPCM 2.0. And that is it. But you do get a new video essay by Kat Ellinger, that's a must. That's a must. Got a new audio commentary with author Martin Contario. Just curious, what does that old DVD from Criterion have? Interviews with actor Brad Dourif, writer Benedict Fitzgerald, and writer and producer Michael Fitzgerald. Okay, so that's the same that's on the imprint release. Rare archival audio recording of author Flannery O'Connor reading her short story, A Good Man is Hard to Find. An episode of the television program Creativity with Bill Moyers from 1982 featuring John Huston discussing his life and work. All right, so that's not on there. So there's some carryover, some not. Okay, so let me see what we got here for Under the Volcano. So nominated for 2 Academy Awards. Now, this is an interesting movie. And the Palme d'Or. Under the Volcano is a haunting portrait of alcoholism and self-destruction starring the great Albert Finney alongside Jacqueline Bisset and Anthony Andrews. Against the background of war breaking out in Europe and the Mexican fiesta Day of the Dead, we are taken through the surreal final days of Geoffrey Furman, a British consul living in alcoholic disrepair and obscurity in a small southern Mexican town in 1939. So this is based on a true story, I believe. Um, and this Albert Finney is amazing in this movie. Like I said, I just read, I believe he was nominated for an Oscar for it. He is incredible in this film as this guy battling alcoholism. So he's like a government diplomat, and he's in a small town in like southern Mexico, basically doing nothing other than drinking. He's gotten a strange relationship with his ex-wife, Jacqueline Bisset, who comes to try to help him not kill himself through alcoholism. And it's in the movie, just as the movie goes on, it goes deeper and deeper into just despair. And yeah, that's the movie. That's the movie. Let's get into the special features. We've got audio commentary by film scholar Josh Nelson, new video essay by film critic Stephen A. Russell, notes from the Under the Volcano. I almost said notes from the underground, but that's not it. Notes from Under the Volcano 1984 feature documentary. And that's it. That is it. Um, Yeah, and then next we've got The Dead from 1987, which is John Huston's last directed film. The Huston family came together for John Huston's last outing as a director, with his son Tony Huston penning the script and starring his daughter Angelica Huston. After a convivial holiday dinner party, things begin to unravel when a husband and wife address some prickly issues concerning their marriage. Okay, that's kind of what the movie is about, but it's about so much more. It's a period piece, it's a drama, it's all set in one place on in one evening at this dinner party, and you've got all of these different characters intertwining with one another. It reminded me a lot actually of Gosford Park. It reminded me of Downton Abbey. It reminded me of things like that, where you've got all of these people in one place. Now, with Downton Abbey and Gosford Park, even the British series Upstairs Downstairs, you get uh, you get the aristocracy, the people, the wealthy people, what's going on with them, and then you got the people who work there and what's going on with them. That's not really the case here. You're really only dealing with the wealthy people and their lives and their relationships and all kinds of stuff. And you get people who go on these trivial monologues at dinner talking about nonsense. You've got people reminiscing about the past. You've got some singing going on of past professional singers. You've got all kinds of things going on in this movie. And it's really all dealing with like lives and things like that, all kinds of themes. It's a tough movie to explain without you actually seeing it. It's one of those types of movies you got to see it to understand what I'm talking about, or else I'm just talking about utter nonsense. It says here, cited by Akira Kurosawa as one of his 100 favorite films, The Dead was nominated for 2 Oscars and was the winner of 2 Independent Spirit Awards. What we have here for special features: 1080p high definition presentation, audio commentary by film writer and author Martin Contario, and new interview with author Guy Adams. That is it. All right, that is the John Huston box set. Let's see. Um, Afterglow, which I did also get to see. This is an interesting movie. Okay, yet again, we're using words here that I would not say are accurate descriptions of the movie. So, um, a heartwarming drama starring Nick Nolte, Julie Christie, Lara Flynn Boyle, and Johnny Lee Miller, written and directed by Alan Rudolph, and produced by Hollywood legend Robert Altman. When two married couples, an older one with a painful past and a younger one with an uncertain future, find their lives intertwining, infidelity threatens to tear them apart. Okay. Um, Julie Christie scored an Academy Award nomination for her performance in the film, winning Best Actress at the San Sebastian Film Festival as well. So to say it's a heartwarming drama is not accurate. That is not accurate. This movie is about like infidelity and like cheating on your significant other because you don't really, because you become disillusioned with your relationship has fallen apart. Your life has not really gone well for with it. So you've got Julie Christie and Nick Nolte. You got Lara Flynn Boyle and Johnny Lee Miller. Those are the two couples we're talking about here. So um Nick Nolte in this movie is a serial adulter. He sleeps with kind of a lot of people. So what is it? Is I think he's like a carpenter, handyman guy. He does jobs like, hey, he'll fix your sink, or he'll like paint your house, or he'll put up doors, or whatever the case may be. So he gets called in to do that, and then during the process of that, he sometimes sleeps with his clients. I don't know, whatever. It's a little far fetched to me, but whatever the case may be. Um, and his wife Julie Christie is okay with it as long as he doesn't get attached. That's the thing. He can't get attached. So whatever their relationship, open relationship is, I get it. People do that nowadays anyway. Um, but what ends up happening is he ends up doing a job for the Lara Flynn Boyle character, and proceeds to have a little thing with her, but gets attached. That's where complications start to ensue. And yeah, that's what I'll say. And the complications ensue because of that. And let's see what we got here for special features. So we've got 1080p high definition, new audio commentary featuring film scholar Adrian Martin, our buddy Adrian Martin. He's been on Chasing Labels twice. Interview with producer Robert Altman. Wow, that's amazing. Interview with writer director Alan Rudolph. Interview with actress Julie Christie. Interview with actor Nick Nolte. Interview with actress Lara Flynn Boyle. Interview with actor Johnny Lee Miller. All right, there we go. Um, that's the movie Afterglow. When did this come out? I think this came out in 1997. Okay. Uh, ba-ba-ba-bum. Let's talk about these two films, and then we'll move on to the 4Ks. So Lulu on the Bridge, not a great movie. Kind of weird. Kind of doesn't make sense. But once you get to the end, things make a little more sense, but still don't make full sense. Let me just read it here. So Harvey Keitel, Mira Sorvino, and Willem Dafoe star in this twisted drama written and directed by the great Paul Auster. In his directing debut, a jazz saxophonist is hit by a stray bullet and finds himself in possession of a mysterious stone that leads to a bromance with an aspiring actress. A series of strange, dreamlike events take place that change their lives forever. Also starring, Gina Gershon pops up in here. Vanessa Redgrave, Mandy Patinkin is in here as well. Cameos from musicians David Byrne and Lou Reed too. All right, and special features: audio commentary by director and writer Paul Auster, producer Peter Newman, editor Tim Squires, and director of cinematography Alec Sakharov. Deleted scenes, and that is it. Like I said, this movie it's it's odd. A lot of it, the movie doesn't make sense, and even when you get to the end and things are supposed to become clearer, still don't make full sense. It's tough. I don't want to spoil any of it. Um, the description here does a decent job of kind of telling you the general premise. Harvey Keitel is a saxophonist in a band. He gets hit by a bullet performing at a nightclub, and his life and then his life goes on kind of an existential journey after that, where he meets the Mira Sorvino character through a series of circumstances surrounding this magical stone. um yeah, that's it. That's all I could say. I don't want to say anymore. This came out in 98. um let's move on to The Quiet American, starring Michael Caine and Brendan Fraser, both Academy Award winning actors. Acting royalty Michael Caine and Brendan Fraser star alongside Dorothy Hyen in this heavy-hitting political drama shot on location in Vietnam, based on the best-selling novel by Graham Greene. Inside God, 1952, an idealistic American aid worker meets London Times correspondent Thomas Fowler and his beautiful young Vietnamese mistress Phuan, or Fawn, and the three could become swept up in a tempestuous love triangle that leads to a series of startling revelations and finally murder. Michael Caine was nominated for an Academy Award, a Golden Globe, and a BAFTA for Best Actor for his performance in this film, and the film winning the AFI Award for Movie of the Year. That is The Quiet American. Now, this was, I think, adapted back in the 50s. I want to say 50s. Let me see. I think with Frank Sinatra, 1958. No, Audie Murphy, Michael Redgrave. What was I thinking? Frank Sinatra. That was a Joseph L. Mankiewicz film. So no, it's not. It's not Frank Sinatra. But yeah, The Quiet American is a movie heaped in political themes, specifically centered around Vietnam, specifically centered around American involvement in Vietnam, even before the Vietnam War. So this does not take place during what we know as the Vietnam War. This takes place in the pre-Vietnam War, which was the war between France and Indochina, which Vietnam, and when they were fighting for independence and things like that, which was from 1946 to 1954, I believe, and then afterward would be the start of what we would know as, the Vietnam War with North and South Vietnam and stuff like that. Then, United States would become heavily involved in it in the 1960s, particularly after the assassination of JFK. The United States would get even more involved in Vietnam. But this is like a preamble to all of that. And you can see the political leanings in this movie. You can see the political themes in this movie, specifically when it comes to the Brendan Fraser's character, where he is there for a specific political reason. And the whole movie is an allegory for the United States getting involved in foreign wars, in foreign politics, and all the complications that ensue because of it. We know that up until now, literally to today. That's been the United States' role in the world political stage since post World War II and even beforehand to a much lesser extent. But obviously, after World War II, the world radically changed. Radically changed. Um, we um we are still dealing with all of that out like fallout after World War II, where the world um where the United States specifically, I don't want to get too political here, feels that it needs to police the world. Not only the United States, but a conglomerate of superpowers or just powerful countries in the world. There's the United States, UK, other European countries as well. That's why we have the UN, we have NATO, we have all these big type of international organizations. Those are all because of the fallout of World War II, which happened now what 80 years ago. So we're all still dealing with that type of stuff now. Um, that's why I love history so much. Everything's connected. It's all connected. You would not think that things that happened 80 years ago would connect to today, but they do. And that's why history is so important to know and to learn from, because it's all connected. But this movie is very, very good. Very, very good. Michael Caine's great. Brendan Fraser is great. This tumultuous love triangle that they're in is interesting and fascinating. Um, uh, it's based on the novel by Graham Greene. Graham Greene is a British author, and you probably have seen. He was responsible, not responsible. I think he co-wrote or helped develop the movie The Third Man. There you go. There you go. But a bunch of his other stuff was also adapted into movies as well. Um, so yeah, that is that. Let's move on now to because I want to go. I'm not going to go over these in too much depth because people know these movies for the most part, except for one of them. So there were three 4K UHD release announcements from Imprint, big deluxe editions that we're going to get. We have Twins of Evil from 1971. We have Carrie from 1976, the Brian De Palma film, which, like I said, we don't need to. These movies are known. This movie's known. And then we have The Invasion of the Body Snatchers from 1978. Yet again, another movie that is well known amongst us movie fans, amongst us collectors. There's been a ton of releases for both Carrie and Invasion of the Body Snatchers. We just got two of them within the last couple of years. We got a release of 1978's Invasion of the Body Snatchers from Kino in 4K and Arrow in 4K. So we've been talking about these movies. Carrie was the same way. Carrie, we've gotten a 4K release from Shout Factory. We got a 4K release from Arrow as well. We got Blu-ray release from Shout before. We got a Blu-ray release from Arrow before. We've gotten regular edition MGM releases from Carrie before. So these movies have been well out there. But what really hasn't is Twins of Evil is a Hammer horror film. And it's an interesting Hammer horror film. It stars Peter Cushing as he's like a Puritan witch hunter. Let me read this here. So, see double with Hammer horror classic Twins of Evil making its worldwide 4K UHD debut. And a brand new 4K restoration by Imprint Films. They look alike, they dress alike, two identical beauties, but one of them has the very devil in her. Starring the great Peter Cushing alongside real life identical twins Madeline and Mary Collinson, this steamy, daring vampire film is based on the 1872 novella Carmilla by Sheridan Le Fanu, um, limited edition 4K UHD and Blu-ray hardbox with 60-page booklet, limited to 1,500 copies. So you've got a 2-disc set plus a booklet loaded with special features. Well, pretty loaded. First disc here is 4K UHD disc, Dolby Vision, new 4K restoration from the original 35mm negative by Imprint Films. Excuse me. Audio commentary by film critics Kim Newman and Stephen Jones. Audio commentary by film historians Jonathan Rigby and Kevin Lyons. A new Bloodlines Inside Twins of Evil documentary from 2025. And then we move on to the Blu-ray disc, which has those two audio commentaries, plus The Flesh and the Fury, Exposing Twins of Evil, director's cut of the feature-length documentary, Satanic Decadence and the Legacy of Sheridan Le Fanu in Hammer's Twins of Evil, video essay by Kat Ellinger from 2021. Okay, that's definitely something of note. The Props That Hammer Built, the Kinsey Collection featurette, interview with director John Hoff by Hammer historian Marcus Hearn, interview with actor Damian Thomas, Super 8 version of the film, deleted scene, theatrical trailer, TV spots, motion stills gallery, isolated music and effects score, and audio track, effects score audio track. Yeah. Let's see, the booklet, like I said, 60 pages, featuring over 100 photographs and a reprint of the original 1971 press kit. So, like I said, this is a Hammer horror film. It's dealing with like vampires and witchcraft. It's puritanical, like witch hunting and devil hunting, demon hunting stuff. Peter Cushing is a super Puritan religion conservative guy, and he takes in his two nieces who happen to be identical twins, but one of them has fallen into the darkness, and he ends up kind of like figuring those things out and whatnot. There's this is also part of let me read what it says. It's part of this like Hammer horror vampire trilogy with Vampire Lovers and another film that I cannot remember. Let me see if I can find it. So let me go to the Wikipedia page actually of Twins of Evil. Twins of Evil. Let's see, 1971. Yes, it is the third and final film in the Karnstein trilogy based on the 1872 novella Carmilla by Sheridan Le Fanu, which I said. The film has the least resemblance to the novella and adds a witch-finding theme to the vampire story. Much of the interest of the film revolves around the contrasting evil and good natures of two beautiful sisters, Frida and Maria. Unlike the previous two entries in the series, this film contains only a brief lesbian element. That is the one thing with this Karnstein trilogy. And the one thing with Hammer horror in general was always pushing the boundaries when it came to, sexual things you could put on the screen. Let's see. So the trilogy is The Vampire Lovers, Lust for a Vampire, and Twins of Evil. Those are the three films. Vampire Lovers is probably the best one and the one people know of the most because it stars Ingrid Pitt as the lesbian vampire Countess Mircalla Karnstein. Yeah, I just wanted to bring up that, give that a little context here. Let's see, I went through the special features already, and that is it for Twins of Evil. I am just curious here. I'm not going to go through all of it. Yeah, okay. So I'm not going to. Let's see. I'm just taking a quick look at the Carrie and the Invasion of the Body Snatchers. I don't think there's anything new. It doesn't say anything new, so I'm not going to go through these. Because I honestly, by this point, I'm pretty sure many of you have these films in your collection already. I appreciate that they're putting out super deluxe editions of these two movies, but I'm pretty sure by this point, we have at least one version of those movies in our collections. Let me get my notes back up here because I just lost my place. So we've gone through Warner Archive, we've gone through Imprint. Let's go over to Radiance. So we're going over to Radiance now, and Radiance is putting out one, two, three, four releases, and they are putting out um Night of the Juggler, which is a 4K UHD release, which we just talked about Night of the Juggler because Kino is putting out a 4K release of this as well. Then we've got a box set, which is Radical Japan Cinema and State, 9 films by Nagisa Oshima. We've got a release here called The Ogre of Athens, which is getting limited edition release. And then we got another box set here called Wicked Games, 3 films by Robert Hossein. Let's go to Night of the Juggler, the 4K UHD release. Um, so this is the movie starring James Brolin. This has been cited as being um, a favorite amongst many popular filmmakers, and also being one that's an influence too. So, Night of the Juggler, a young girl is kidnapped in broad daylight in Central Park by a murderous psychopath who plans to demand a huge ransom for her return, mistakenly believing she is the daughter of a wealthy property developer. Unfortunately for him, she's actually the daughter of Sean Boyd, portrayed by James Brolin, a devoted dad and grizzled ex-cop who will stop at absolutely nothing to get her back, even if it means taking out the kidnapper, his enemies, his enemies in the NYPD, and the entire scuzzy underworld populating the mean streets of 1970s New York. So what you have here is Taken, starring James Brolin. I've talked about this movie before when it was announced that Kino was putting it out. So I watched it at the time, and yeah, it is very good. It's very good. It's got that gritty 1970s New York aesthetic to it. You got James Brolin here. Um, Yeah, let's just get to the special features. New 4K restoration from the original 35mm camera negative, presented in Dolby Vision HDR, 4K UHD, and Blu-ray presentation of the feature. 5.1 surround mix and lossless 2.0. New audio commentary with film historians Kim Newman and Sean Hogan. New interview with actor James Brolin. New interview with actress Julie Carmen, sorry, new interview with actor Dan Hedaya. The Meanest Streets, Night of the Juggler locations tour with journalist slash filmmaker Michael Gingold and production associate Chris Coles. Welcome to Fair City, new visual essay on the depiction of New York City in the 70s and 80s exploitation cinema by Howard S. Berger. Pandemonium Reflex, an inquest into Sidney J. Fury's Night of the Juggler, new visual essay on Fury by Daniel Kramer, author of Sidney J. Fury, Life and Films. And you have a trailer, stills and poster gallery. So this is a pretty nice set. And you have a 40-page book here too, limited to 5,000 copies. Just for the sake of life, let's see if I can find a list of the special features that Kino put for their release for Night of the Juggler. Let's see if I could spell things properly. Let's see, so Kino's release is coming out in September 16th. Let's see. All right. So okay, just checking it out here. So there's an audio commentary by film historians Steve Mitchell and Nathaniel Thompson. That's obviously not on the Radiance release. Um, there's Summer of '78 it says interview with actor James Brolin, Sweet Maria interview with actress Julie Carmen. Now let me go back over because there were interviews, but I want to make sure that they were the same. Let's see. Yeah, it says new interview with James Brolin, new interview with Julie Carmen. So that may be the same thing. That probably is. Um, and it says Pandemonium Reflex and Inquest into Sidney J. Fury's Night of the Juggler. That's on the Kino release. That's on the Radiance release. So the only thing you get with Kino that you don't get with Radiance is the commentary by Steve Mitchell and Nathaniel Thompson. But the Radiance release has many more, like several more things on here. Well, I would say yeah, several more things. No, I wouldn't say several. I wouldn't say a lot more, but several more. Yeah, like it's got an interview with Dan Hedaya. Um, like a visual essay stuff. Okay. So that is Night of the Juggler. When is this coming out, by the way? Oh, November. Yep, November. So this is their November releases. I forget how far ahead Radiance is. Radiance is always so far ahead of everybody else, at least by a month, or at least by a month. So let's see what else we got here. Okay, so this is gonna be this is gonna be tough. Radical Japan Cinema and State, 9 films by Nagisa Oshima. Um, so I've seen several of these movies, and to me, Nagisa Oshima is one of those directors um, whose work is so like next level that you got to prepare yourself for watching a Nagisa Oshima film. He's one of those types of directors, for me at least. For me at least. And I learned that trying to watch several of his movies in a row to prepare for the podcast. He's not a director who I think you can just like binge watch his movies. You can, but you're gonna hit a wall. And once you hit that wall, it's tough to get past it because his movies are really thought provoking, really excellent, um, and they're really they take a toll on you mentally, just be on an analytical level. Um, but let's see what we got here. Let's see. I just want to see where am I going to start reading. So, the start of an ongoing series, this first volume of Radical Japan explores the films of new wave icon Nagisa Oshima. He directed Cruel Story of Youth, Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence, which is part of the Criterion Collection, one of the most vital, challenging, and admired bodies of work in cinema history. This box set presents Blu-ray premieres of Oshima's finest features across 7 discs. Okay, so in The Catch, a village in World War II is shaken by the capture of a pilot. In Death by Hanging, a failed execution throws the justice system into disarray. So, Death by Hanging, there is a Blu-ray already released by the Criterion Collection. It was released back in 2016, and it is as good as its reputation says it is. It's a much funnier movie than I thought it was going to be. Dark black comedy, satirical about government ineptitude and things like that. Very philosophical, very deep. It's going in so many different directions. It'll make your mind explode in terms of themes. But Death by Hanging is it's a movie, man. It's a movie. Um, and then the next movie here is Diary of a Shinjuku Thief. What a crazy movie. Strikingly captures Tokyo's 1960s counterculture, I guess. A lot of sex in this movie. Um, I will say this when it comes to Nagisa Oshima, not afraid of sex, not afraid of racism, too. There's a lot of racism in his movies. So just want to give people kind of a warning there. And sexual stuff as well, specifically sexual violence towards women, which is very off-putting, very off-putting. But I don't know if he's using it as a method of exploring like how messed up the society of Japan was at the time, or if it's just more sinister than that. I don't really know. That, like I said, his movies are such on another level and so challenging that you don't kind of know fully what's going on. Um, it's tough. Like his movies are like going to a college lecture course of in film school. Like that's the level his movies are on. And Tale of a Shinjuku Thief is one of those. Strikingly captures the Tokyo's 1960s counterculture. It is, but also being a open look at various like a sexual revolution in Japan at the time, as well as a cultural and government revolution. Okay, so we have Boy, which is a vivid portrait of a family surviving through scams. So Boy is very good. Boy is excellent. Boy is amazing. Um, it's a movie, oh, my goodness, about so many things, but it's ultimately the premise of the movie is thus: it's a family, it's a father, a mother, and 2 young children. One's about 10 years old, and one is still like a toddler, really. And the mother is a stepmother of the oldest child, and the father has remarried because I think the first mother has passed away. Um, and this family lives by performing scams. By scams, I mean like they walk out in front of cars and get hit by cars, and then um like get money like that. Like the person that hits them, they'll threaten to be like, oh, we're gonna call the cops, we're gonna sue, we're gonna do all this kind of stuff, and then the people, they don't want to deal with cops and lawyers and court and anything like that, so they cut them deals. They say, hey, what can I pay to make this, to make things right, if you will, and they do this repeatedly, but they do it by sending out this young boy to do it instead of themselves. And it's really disheartening, and it's really a look at just a bad, parental structure, a bad support system, and what that does to a child. Not having a traditional structured life and home, and all this kind of stuff. It's yet again, Oshima's on another level with all of this social commentary. Really is. And those are the movies that I got to see. So I watched The Catch, I watched Death by Hanging, I watched Diary of a Shinjuku Thief, and I watched Boy. Those are all on the Criterion Channel to watch. You can watch all of that. They have a lot of Oshima on Criterion Channel, a lot. Um, so the rest I did not get to see. So we've got The Man Who Left His Will on Film from 1970, Oshima's reaction to the protest movement, The Ceremony, a meditation on how tradition oppresses the young, and Dear Summer Sister, which questions Japan's colonial relation to Okinawa. Interesting. Um, uh, it says 9 films, but if you just counted out what I just mentioned, I think that only goes up to 7. So I don't know why the numbers are kind of off that way. Yes, so we have The Catch, Death by Hanging, um, Diary of a Shinjuku Thief, um, Boy, The Man Who Left His Will on Film is 5. We have The Ceremony, and then Dear Summer Sister. That's 7. I don't know why it says 9. That confused me. Literally for the last week, I've been so confused by that. But let's go to the special features. 4K restoration of Death by Hanging, Diary of a Shinjuku Thief, Boy, The Man Who Left His Will on Film, and The Ceremony. High definition digital transfers of The Catch and Dare Summer Sister, exclusive to this edition. Okay. I have to say, The Catch is a fascinating film, a fascinating movie. Yeah. Audio commentaries by Sam Deegan on The Death by Hanging, Tony Raines on Diary of a Shinjuku Thief, and Jasper Sharp on The Ceremony. Introduction and appreciations of the films by film historians and scholars Luke Van Hout, Jennifer Coates, Ri Sukunaga, and filmmaker Yang Yang Hee. Archival interview with Oshima from 86 and 95. Interview with actors Tadanori Yoku and Kazuo Goto. Interview with critic and author Junichi Kanuma on composer Toru Takamitsu. That's from 2025. Extensive interview with critic Tony Raines on Oshima's life and career. Young Bogi's Diary, Oshima's short film about street children in Seoul. That's from 1965. 100 Years of Japanese Cinema, Oshima's documentary celebrating the centenary of cinema from 95. This is a massive set. Japanese cinema. I'm just going to run these down because I'm getting tired here. Oh, this is the last one. Never mind. Japanese Cinema, New Territories, a documentary by Hubert Neogret on the Japanese cinema of rebellion and renewal. It's about Japanese filmmakers of the 60s to the 90s. You got interviews with like Shohei Imamura, Kinji Yoshida, and others, and Oshima too, of course. And that is it. But this is a massive box set. Like I'm tired just looking at this box set. I can't wait to add this box set to my collection. Just because it's just massive, and it's a celebration really of Japanese cinema, but specifically like Japanese underground independent, new wave cinema. So every kind of cinema culture got a new wave, the French New Wave, United States had their new wave with the new Hollywood in the late 60s, throughout the 70s. British New Wave, I think, was the 1980s. And then you have the Australian New Wave, which was 70s into the 80s. That's where you get the exploitation films. All that kind of stuff. Excuse me. But let's move on from there, because that's a massive set. Radical Japan, Cinema in State, the Nagisa Oshima films. Then you have The Ogre of Athens, which I got to see as well. The Ogre of Athens, despite his best efforts, shy and modest bank clerk Thomas struggles to fit in with the pace of modern life. On New Year's Eve, a comedy of errors ensues, and Thomas is mistaken for the ogre, a notorious criminal mastermind who rules the streets of Athens. Suddenly, men respect him and women are interested in him. It's all he's ever wanted. However, everything comes with a price, and Thomas is soon out of his depth when his unwitting white lie unravels. Rich with physical comedy and sharp social commentary, this satirical crime drama from director Nikos, oh boy, Kondoros, was a commercial disaster on release and is now considered to be a true classic of modern Greek cinema. So, this is a movie about a guy going through the classic Hitchcock wrong man scenario, and instead of uh, guess trying to prove that he's not this person, decides, hey, why not let me pretend to be this person? Well, the pretending, you go further and further down this path of make believe. Things start becoming very real, um, and and that's kind of what happens with this guy. He begins to believe he is this person. People around him believe he is this person. He starts acting that way and all this kind of stuff. And, you know, uh, bad things can happen because of it. Let's just say that. So you have a high definition digital transfer, uncompressed mono PCM audio, new introduction from Jonathan Franzen, who I believe Jonathan Franzen, is that the author, Jonathan Franzen? I think it may be. A new interview with critic Christina Newland, new interview with Greek film expert Dimitris, oh boy, Papa Nicolalo. I've butchered that. New improved English subtitle translation. This is a Greek film, if you haven't picked up on that yet. So the movie is in Greek, and so these are all Greek names that I cannot pronounce for the life of me. Reversible sleeve featuring designs based on original posters. Limited edition booklet featuring new writing by Andreas Yiannopoulos and extract from Jonathan Franzen's Freedom. I have a couple of Jonathan Franzen books actually. On one of my bookshelves. Uh, Limited edition of 2,500 copies. There you go. So this movie came out in 1956, coming out in November as well. Oh, these are all coming out in November. So we've got the last but certainly not least here is Wicked Games, 3 filmed by Robert Hossein. Let's see what it says here. So, Wicked Games, filmed by Robert Hossein, a prison break, femme fatales, and a genre-defining western. Robert Hossein was both behind and in front of the camera, one of French cinema's great unsung stylists. 3 of his finest genre exploits are collected here. In a hard penitentiary, 2 prisoners fight off the rumor that one of them denounced a recently executed inmate. With their fellow convict at their throats, they join forces and escape. Along the way, they hole up in a remote beach cabin where they take the angel-faced occupant as their hostage while they figure out their next move. The feature debut of Robert Hossein, The Wicked Go to Hell, was adapted from the novel by celebrated crime writer Frederick Dard, a prison escape film that spins into a fatalistic noir. Oh, that's kind of cool. And I think we've got the next film here on an evening stroll. Pierre is invited into a white car by a female voice. Upon getting in, he finds he finds a nude blonde with her face obscured by shadow. After sharing an intimate moment, Pierre tries to get to know her, but she produces a revolver and orders him to leave. There you go. Astonished by the events, Pierre determines to find the woman and traces the car to an address where 2 blonde sisters live. One who claims to never go out, and another who is paralyzed. Following his explosive debut, director Robert Hossein reteams with celebrated crime writer Frederick Dard for this sultry mystery evoking Hitchcock and classic noir. You know what? In that entire long paragraph, they did not mention the title of the movie, which is literally called Nude in a White Car. That's the title of the movie. And then the third film, in a Latin American country ruled by dictator revolutionary leader Perez, holds up a train to kidnap the dictator's daughter to trade. Yeah, to trade for her for the captured revolutionaries. Perez takes her across dangerous terrain with his two lieutenants, Chamaco and Chico, but the bounty on her head is high, and compatriots may be easily tempted to switch sides. Anticipating later Zapata westerns that focused on revolutions like A Bullet for the General and The Wild Bunch, The Taste of Violence is also one of the most visually striking Euro westerns bearing resemblance to work by Akira Kurosawa. So that is The Taste of Violence. So we got three films here. You've got Wicked Go to Hell, The Wicked Go to Hell, Nude in a White Car, and The Taste of Violence. Let's see what we got for special features, shall we? 2K restorations by Gaumont for each film, presented on 3 discs. So each film gets its own disc. That's nice. Original uncompressed mono audio for each film, audio commentary on each film by critic and author Tim Lucas, Picking Strawberries, a newly created making of featurette with historian Lucas Balbo, featuring archival interview with Hossein and Jean Roland. Oh, Behind Marked Eyes, the cinematic stare of Robert Hossein. Interview with actor Marina Vladi, the evolution of the femme fatale in classic French cinema. A visual essay by Sam Deegan. Okay. The Taste of Violence Appreciation by filmmaker and Western authority Alex Cox. All right. Interview with author C. Courtney Joyner on the Taste of Violence and the Zapata Western subgenre. Those are all new features. Wow. They got a reversible sleeve featuring original and newly commissioned artwork. Nice. That's about it there. So, that is Wicked Games. 3 films by Robert Hossein. They all sound rather fascinating and rather interesting to me. Um, I want to give them a watch. I wasn't able to because of time and whatnot in preparing for this week's episode, which it goes by very fast. The 2 weeks in between episodes you may think is a lot of time, but it really is not. It really is not. Um, and you have it also depends on when things get announced. Criterion was announced today. It was announced around noon today, which gave me no time to prepare for tonight's episode when it came to that, other than like check them out, share them on social media, um, and then make sure to write them down in the notes that I had already prepared for the show. So there you go. That gives you a little glimpse into my day. I just wanted to um, get a sense of what's going on in the world of movies. I'm just checking the stream here to make sure everything's good. I always get a little wary about these things where I sometimes I think that I'm not streaming to anyone. sometimes sometimes I'm just talking to the wind, talking to the wind. But let's see. So just going over Radiance, and then we can move on to some other stuff. Night of the Juggler, 4K UHD release, loaded release, really. Radical Japan, Cinema and State, 9 films by Nagisa Oshima, although it may be 7. I counted 7. I don't know. The Ogre of Athens, and then Wicked Games, 3 films by Robert Hossein. These are all coming out in November. I have a lot of Radiant stuff in my collection. I'm still way behind, even though I've got so much stuff. Um, Yet again, Radiance is probably one of the most consistent boutique labels. Every single month, they've got new release announcements. So their next announcement, it says here on the website, will be September 3rd. Um, so stay tuned for that, and that will be their December releases. And yeah, just that's kind of nuts. It's kind of nuts already. So let's move on to something else. Let me go check my notes to see where we will be moving on to next. So we've done Imprint, we've done Radiance, we've done Warner Archive. Let's see what we got here left for slates. So we've got, and then with some individual stuff, a lot of individual stuff I want to get into, but briefly, of course. Let's see, slate wise. Let's go to Kino. Because a lot of it is stuff we've talked about already, so we don't have to spend too much time on Kino Land. And then we'll get into individual stuff, I believe. And that's when we will get into, I'll talk about, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I'll talk about Second Sight is putting out the Florida Project. Our buddy, our friend, yeah, I'll call him our friend until we're told to stop. Sean Baker's film. So we will get into that. Our friend John Matthews started his company New Wave Video, and they just announced they announced and are taking or pre-orders of their first two releases. So we'll get into that. But for now, let's go to Kino. Bum, where are you, Kino? I thought I had brought you guys up. Let me go over to Kino's Facebook page. And let's see what they've got cooking over there. I'm probably going to run out of soda soon, which is not going to be good because there's still so much show left to do. All right. So let's start here. So I talked about the airport collection last week. They changed some key art to their box set that they're putting out. So I thought I would make note of that. But the other so they have a release coming out on October 14th of Death Packs a Suitcase. I think I talked about this last time. Death Packs a Suitcase, the Jess Franco film. I don't know why I'm talking about it again, but Death Packs a Suitcase. It's Kino Cult number 38. New audio commentary of film historians Troy Haworth and Nathaniel Thompson. It's getting a limited edition O-card slipcase release. That's kind of nice. Yeah, it says a black-gloved killer stalks London, packing the suitcases of their victims before murdering them with an exotic dagger. Yep, that sounds like a Jess Franco film. So that's coming out October 14th. Then we've got the movie Rampage, which they announced forever ago, and they're finally giving us some details on it. This is the 1980s film? Yes. Let's see. It's getting a 2-disc edition coming out October 14th as well. Disc 1 is a brand new HDR Dolby Vision Masters from a 4K scan of the 35mm original camera negative. And that's for the original version, and a 35mm interpositive was used for the recut version. So there's 2 cuts of this movie. And the first disc also has an audio commentary by film historians Howard S. Berger and Nathaniel Thompson for both cuts of the movie. It's a 5.1 surround and lossless 2.0. Why would it be a 5.1 surround and not a DTS? Huh. That's odd. I haven't seen that on a Blu-ray in a long time. But anywho, disc 2, same masters for the disc, same audio commentary, but we do have some special features. Where's the Blood? New interview with actor Alex MacArthur. Psychotic Vampire. New interview with true crime writer Harold Schefter. And then theatrical trailer, and also 5.1 surround and lossless 2.0. Let's see. Charles Reese is the all-American boy, handsome and well-liked. He does charity work and dutifully cares for his mother. One day he buys a gun and goes on one of the most horrific murder sprees ever recorded. I do remember this. Anthony Fraser is the liberal-minded district attorney assigned to prosecute Reese. Fraser's objective, the death penalty, a punishment that goes against his personal beliefs. As Fraser plunges deeper and deeper into the case, he's outraged by a system that would set a killer free by deeming him criminally insane. Ultimately, Fraser realizes he and the murderer share the same conviction. Sometimes a life must be taken, a hidden gem in the canon of William Friedkin, director of The French Connection, The Exorcist, To Live and Die in L.A., The Hunted, and Bug. Rampage is a stark, unflinching thriller as controversial and thought-provoking as its subject. Featuring music by Ennio Morricone. Yeah, the original cut premiered in some festivals in 1987 and was shelved for 5 years. In 1992, Miramax acquired the film, edited the film by 5 minutes, and gave the film its long overdue theatrical release. I remember talking about all of this when it was announced, but this is Rampage. Let's see. Next, we have King and Country, which is a film that I've talked about before because I think it got a Studio Canal release. Let me check over at Blu-ray.com. So, King and Country. Let's see. Yeah, I remember talking about this back in 2023. That's how long ago this got released by Studio Canal. Time flies. Time flies. Feels like just the other day. So, Dirk Bogarde and Tom Courtenay give shattering performances in this British anti-war classic based on actual events. Private Arthur Hamp, portrayed by Courtney, a volunteer at the outbreak of the First World War, and the sole survivor of his company, decides one day to go for a walk. Picked up by the military police, he is sent back to his unit to face a court-martial for desertion. An arrogant officer, Captain Charles Hargreaves, Dirk Bogarde, reluctantly accepts the assignment to defend him. However, during testimony, Hargreaves begins to feel sympathy for the obviously sincere but traumatized Hamp. For the first time in his military career, the officer begins to question the Army's methods and attitude towards its men. So, this is a movie dealing with PTSD during wartime, dealing with the concept of being shell shocked, which is what they would call PTSD during World War One. The concept of PTSD really wasn't known as that until until after Vietnam. I think it was till after Vietnam when the soldiers came back and they were just incredibly messed up from um, their experiences over in Vietnam. And then now PTSD is a more common term used for not any, but used for many mental traumatic events that people have to deal with later on. Um, yeah, it's just a fascinating movie. It's a great film too. It's a really great film. I watched it when it was announced back for the Studio Canal release, and I talked about it here on Chasing Labels. So let's get into. There's nothing here for special features, unfortunately. At least not much. So we've got a 22 HD master from a 4K skin with 35 millimeter camera negative. That's got to be what Studio Canal used. New commentary by film critic and author Simon Abrams. Tom Courtenay on King and Country interview, 1964 interview with actor Dirk Bogarde. That is it. Wow, that is at least it's something. At least it's something. We get a new commentary, but oh gee, Studio Canal release didn't have much better. Studio Canal release back in 2023. Tom Courtenay on King and Country, and then an archival interview with Dirk Bogarde, and then a stills gallery. That was it. What a damn shame. Cheap. Such a good movie. Not much there. So yeah, it's the same. It's the same special features, plus we get an audio commentary this time. There you go. Okay. So let's move on from King and Country. Now we have another Dan Curtis collection, if you will. Well, it's a double feature, really. So I talked about Dan Curtis's Monster Collection, I think in the last episode, and now we're talking about Dan Curtis's Gothic Tales, 1973, 1974, and this is two films. This is The Picture of Dorian Gray from 1973, and then the second film is The Turn of the Screw from 1974. All right, doesn't give us any like special feature breakdown or anything like that. It just says coming on Blu-ray in November. November. Right around the corner, I guess. So we will move on from there to 10 to Midnight. Charles Bronson sleazy movie from the 80s. It's a canon film from the 80s, so you're going to get some sleaze in there. This movie's been released a couple of times already. This is 10 to Midnight starring Charles Bronson as a crooked cop. And he's gotta find this serial killer. So 10 to Midnight has been released. It was released by Twilight Time back in 2015. It was released again on Blu-ray by I think Twilight Time again. This time it was a signed copy in 2016, signed by Pancho Connor and John Crowther. That was probably like a site exclusive. But then we've got another release after that, because after Twilight Time, I guess, didn't have the rights anymore. 10 to Midnight had a collector's edition release from Shout Factory. And that's the one I think probably many people have. It's still in print, actually. It's still in print. So my guess is that Kino has the 4K rights, and Shout Factory still has the Blu-ray rights. That would be my assumption, because it says here coming. Oh, well, hold on. Coming 2026 on 4K UHD. All right, so we're playing with time. Now we're playing with future time. So 2026 isn't exactly right around the corner. So perhaps by that point, maybe Kino will have the rights to both the Blu-ray and the 4K. Who really knows? But it just says coming 2026 on 4K UHD, brand new HDR DV master from a 4K scan of the original camera negative is 10 to Midnight, starring Charles Bronson. Um, and this is a movie where he's a police detective and he's trying to find this serial killer who is um, killing young women, and he's not leaving a trace behind because he's killing the women and he's doing it completely nude, completely naked, so he doesn't leave any like clothing fiber behind. He doesn't leave any clothing, he doesn't leave any, blood splatter on his clothes or anything like that. So that's and we know who the killer is right away in the movie. So it's one of those things where we know, but the detectives don't know. So we're watching them try to figure things out. And Charles Bronson is getting frustrated in the movie because he's got his guy, but he can't, like, he's got to prove it. You know what I mean? He's got to prove it. All this kind of stuff. And Charles Bronson does some crooked stuff. Uh, and the movie's called 10 to Midnight. Boy, let me just check. I'm checking the Blu-ray from Shout Factory is pretty loaded with features. Not loaded, but pretty good. Got 2 audio commentaries on it, plus 1, 2, 3, 4 special features, and then an image gallery, and then radio spots. So that's a pretty nice release. And I think, yeah, and that Blu-ray release has got pretty high marks because it came from a new 4K scan of the original camera negative from Shout Factory, trying to give a fairly grimy feature some HD shine for its second release on Blu-ray. I'm just reading from the Blu-ray.com review. So the Blu-ray already looks really good, so the 4K hopefully will look even better. So we shall see when we get further details on that. Next, we have the movie The X, which I talked about last time, so we don't really have to talk about it. I also talked about Dead of Night last time as well, I think, so I don't have to talk about that. But I will talk about For Whom the Bell Tolls. So For Whom the Bell Tolls has not only a Metallica song, but uh, it's let's see, based on the best-selling controversial novel by Ernest Hemingway. For Whom the Bell Tolls graces the screen with legendary stars Gary Cooper, Ingrid Bergman, and the story follows expatriate American demolition expert Robert Jordan, who aids anti-fascist freedom fighters of Spain. Assisting him is a band of warriors, including the strong-willed Pilar, um, the dangerously independable Pablo, and the lovely, innocent Maria, who is Ingrid Bergman. As danger mounts, Robert and Maria develop a closeness that blossoms into one of the silver screen's greatest love stories, epic in scope yet intimate in feeling. For Whom the Bell Tolls was nominated for 9 Oscars for the wartime year of 1943, including Best Picture, Best Actor, Best Actress, and Best Supporting Actor, and remains a shining example of golden age movie making at its finest. So this came out in 1943. The movie is like 170 minutes long. It's a long movie, damn near 3 hours. Um, and yeah, based on the Ernest Hemingway novel. So what we have here for special features, mastered in 4K from a 35 millimeter restoration facilitated by the UCLA Film and Television Archive, new audio commentary by film historian David Del Val and a film historian slash producer Dan Marino. Not the Dan Marino, not the legendary football player. This roadshow edition includes overture and intermission. Okay, that makes sense for the movie being almost 3 hours long. And then that's it. That's it. I have not seen this movie, despite being a big fan of Gary Cooper, and Ingrid Bergman is my favorite actress of all time. And I have not seen this movie yet, so I'll probably wait to get this Blu-ray release. Yeah, only a Blu-ray release, which is fine. Which is fine for me. Next week of Death Wish 3, which I've talked about. Death Wish 3 is insane. I talked about this when this was announced. It's the third film in the Death Wish series. What's his name? Charles Bronson goes back to New York, back to I think where the first film was set, and this time he decides to fight a whole street gang. That's the movie. Um, he's not going out at night to just like kill random people who are mugging people and attacking women at night. He's gonna fight a whole gang in this movie, because they killed his friend. So he's got to get his revenge. So this is a 2 disc edition. This is Hold on, let me make sure that's plugged in 'cause I just bumped my microphone. The 2 disc edition, 4K UHD disc, brand new HDR Dolby Vision Master from 4K scan, 35mm original camera negative, audio commentary by film historian Paul Talbot, new audio commentary by film historian Steve Mitchell and Nathaniel Thompson, alternate ending, newly restored in HDR and SDR. Um, HDR being high dynamic range, SDR being standard dynamic range. For those of you not in the know with the algorithm, with the not algorithm, but yeah, with abbreviation, I guess. With audio commentary by Steve Mitchell and Nathaniel Thompson, 5.1 surround and lossless 2.0. Why they bring that up again is bothering me. I don't know if that's a misprint or if it's legitimately a 5.1 surround. Like, are we just getting Dolby Digital Surround with this 4K release, or is it just a misprint? We'll see. I guess we'll see when it comes out, and we'll get confirmation through reviews and stuff like that. But that kind of bothers me a little bit. I mean, these are 4K releases, but disc 2 is just a Blu-ray with everything I just said. Yeah, it's got the audio commentary, it's got the alternate ending, except it has an interview with actor Kirk Taylor. And that's the only other extra feature on here. And that is Death Wish 3, coming out October 28th, just in time for Halloween. You get to watch Charles Bronson go have a street war with a gang. And then, let's see, this was announced yesterday, and last but certainly not least, is A Bridge Too Far is getting a 4K UHD release from Kino. It just says coming soon on 4K UHD, meaning it could come this year, it could come next year. You could be here on Chasing Labels in a year from now with details on this. I don't really know, but what I can say is that we were just talking about Imprint. Imprint has put out a limited edition, deluxe 4K UHD release of A Bridge Too Far, and that release is loaded with special features, and it looks great too. So we will see what Kino does with their version whenever they release those details. But if you have not seen A Bridge Too Far, it is a big, large, epic World War II war film from 1977, I believe, starring so many people. Dirk Bogarde, James Caan, Michael Caine, Sean Connery, Elliot Gould, Gene Hackman, Anthony Hopkins, Laurence Olivier, Ryan O'Neal, Robert Redford. Which is actually Robert Redford's birthday today, I believe. And then Liv Ullmann here as well, featuring a bunch of other people too. Yeah, it's I'm curious what they're gonna do with their release, because that release by Imprint is already kind of so stacked. So stacked. Um, let's see what else we've got here. That is actually it from it from Kino. We're done with Kino. Finish up there with their announcement from yesterday of A Bridge Too Far. So now we can close the Kino tab, and let's see what else we've got. We can go to the individual announcements now, because we've done Radiance, we've done Warner Archive, we've done Imprint, we've done Kino. And now we can go to, because I don't think and there's no other major slate other than Criterion, which we're saving for the end. All right, then. So let's get into it right now. So the biggest, for me personally, the biggest announcement that I've been waiting for, um, it's like that Phil Collins song. I've been waiting all my life for this. I've been waiting for this forever. It is the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 4K UHD release Trilogy from Arrow Video. Now it's not the official full announcement, it's just kind of a teaser. Actually, we already got a teaser, but now it's like we have We have art with it now. Let me go over to the Arrow website actually to see if there's any details that I did not mention yet. So, ooh, we do have some special features too. Um, so I don't. I think the full announcement's coming soon, but let me just read this off. So these films are near and dear to my heart. So I was born in 1987. Let me set the scene for you. I was born in 1987. And as a young child, I immediately gravitated towards the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Like I feel like everybody has their thing when they were a kid. You know, whether it be whatever generation you're from. You know, I just happen to be, the late 80s, early 90s generation. So I grew up with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, Batman the Animated Series, Spider-Man the Animated Series, X-Men the Animated Series. You're seeing a trend here, all of that stuff of that time. But first, right out of the gate for me was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and all the way up to this day, as a 38-year-old adult, I've been a big fan of the Turtles ever since then. But in 1990, they famously made a live action Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles film. The puppetry was done by the Jim Henson's company. It was, I think, one of, if not the last thing Jim Henson worked on before he passed away. Um, you'll see all kinds of making of documentaries about that and him working on it and whatnot. It's beautiful stuff. But this was my movie. In 1990, I was 3 years old. I still have the VHS tape somewhere for that movie. I watched it over and over and over again. I would act out that movie with, uh, you know, while watching it. It's so near and dear to my heart. And then the sequels came out. The very next year, I think 1991 was Secret of the Ooze. Um, and then 1993 was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3. I remember seeing that in the movie theater like 2 or 3 times. And it's regarded as the worst of the three. It's regarded as probably one of the worst, live action Turtles movies. I can understand why. The suits were not great. The suits were not great. By that point, they looked kind of cheap and fake and just bad. But man, in 1993, I was 6 years old, but I didn't care. I didn't care. I was a child, man. When you're a child, you don't care about if a suit looks fake or not. Um, so the turtles were everything to me as a child, and even throughout my years of living and through my adult life, I've still remained that fandom to this day. I've got, I've owned the movies, I've owned the animated series, I have the comic books, I've watched the documentaries. I mean, the turtles are still around to this day. They've gone through many iterations. We've had some more live action stuff, we've had some more animated stuff, we've got more comic books, we've got all kinds of stuff. The franchise is still well beloved to this day by newer generations. But I have always wanted some type of super deluxe release of these movies, because we did get, now I've got it here behind me. We did get a 25th anniversary Blu-ray collection many years ago. And this came out in, I believe, 2009, because it was to commemorate the 25th anniversary of the original comic coming out in 1984. So this would have been 2009. And we got this deluxe release with the movies on Blu-ray, plus the 2007 animated film too. And these Blu-rays have been recycled over and over again over the years in various packagings, in various collections. We've never really gotten a remastered deluxe set. We've only really had these discs get, reconstituted over and over again. So I started hearing grumblings last year that Arrow was doing this. And we got the little tease earlier this year as well. And then now we've got this announcement. And yeah, this is amazing. So it is the trilogy. It is the original three movies. Um, let's see. Excuse me. So Let me just read this here because I'm so overwhelmed by this. A shell-shocking saga of mutants, martial arts, and New York mayhem, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles trilogy brought comic book grit, practical effects, wizardry, and pizza-fueled fun to a generation of moviegoers, helping turn four sewer-dwelling brothers into global pop culture icons. Yeah, they were back in 1990. The Turtles were a phenomenon. Launching in 1990 with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, director Steve Barron's gritty, high energy adaptation of the underground comic became a box office phenomenon, fusing martial arts, action, streetwise humor, and the groundbreaking animatronics of Jim Henson's Creature Shop. The 1991 sequel, The Secret of the Ooze, is an irresistibly fun second slice, a deep dive into the Turtles' origins where new mutant foes, Toka and Razor, are thrown in the mix. Double the stakes, double the pizza, rounding out the trilogy 1993's the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3 sends the heroes in a half shell back to feudal Japan in a time travel adventure full of samurai showdowns, ancient legends, and comic chaos. Restored in glorious 4K and packed with extras, this radical set celebrates the legacy of Leonardo, Donatello, Michelangelo, and Raphael in one of the most iconic franchises of the era, blending innovative effects, comic book heart, and early 90s attitude. Um, yeah, so we've got there is new 4K restorations of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from the original 35 millimeter negative by Arrow Films. New 4K restorations of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 and 3 from the original 35 millimeter interpositives by Arrow Films. I don't know whatever happened to the original camera negatives. Oh, curious. Original lossless stereo audio and remixed Dolby Atmos surround for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Original lossless stereo and remixed DTS HD Master 5.1 surround for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 and 3. Brand new director's commentaries for all three films. Brand new cast and crew interviews for all three films. Perfect bound collector's booklet featuring new writing on the film by Simon Ward, John Turaney, and John Walsh. Reversible sleeves featuring original and newly commissioned artwork by Flory, and more to be announced. So yeah, full list of extras to be announced on September 26th. So we've got to wait about a month to get the full list of extras and stuff. I can say this. There are two different covers. There's one that's the classic movie poster cover, the ones with them in the sewer with them lifting up the manhole cover, and then there's one that's a more, I think, newly commissioned cover as well. Um, I do want to give a special, Chasing Labels shout out to my friend Scott Saslow and friend of the show, Scott Saslow, who worked on this release actually. Let me go over to his Facebook page actually so I can get his actual words and I'm not just making things up. I talked a little bit with Scott while he was working on this, and yeah, true passionate fan of Turtles as well. Um, so, my latest layout and booklet design from Arrow Video. I must say this has been a trip down memory lane, and this is the first time these films have received any kind of deluxe treatment. Full list of extras to be revealed next month, but there are new commentaries, new interviews, and a few extra tchotchkes that I designed as well. This release features the original key art on the box and new sleeve/disc art by Flory, and there's also an Arrow Store exclusive release with new artwork by Matt Frank and Roberto Rivera Padro. So my boy Scott Saslow, my friend Scott Saslow, did the layout and booklet design. So I want to make sure to mention him. He's been on Chasing Labels 4 times. So I mean, he's well known here. So congratulations to him in working on this massive set, which I assume is going to sell like crazy. There are a lot of millennials like myself who grew up with the Turtles, with the 1990 Turtle film plus its sequels, who love these movies and have been waiting for a deluxe release of these films for the longest time. Um, yeah, this is a day long coming. It's a day long coming. I'm so damn happy. I'm assuming that this is going to be released as part of their December titles. Um, that would be my guess because we've got October announcements. I think next week we'll probably get November announcements, and then December announcements will perhaps be the Turtles. It'll be the Turtles. So Arrow is having quite a year with the Man with No Name trilogy, um, being as popular as it is, with putting out um, zombie flesh eaters as well, and now putting out the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles box set too. They also put out Dark City, which I've got here too, which is another great release from them. Arrow has been really a heavy hitter this year in the boutique label world. Um, so shout out to them. It's doing good stuff. Oh, speaking of Arrow, there is currently an Arrow 50% off sale happening at Barnes and Noble. It's going from the 11th of August, which obviously was a week ago. And I think it's going until the 19th of September, but don't quote me on that. So it's about a month long. So check out your local Barnes and Noble, check out your Barnes and Noble website, because you can get some stuff like Dark City, and you could get um you can get the new release of Cobra, like 50% off, plus some other previous releases too. You can also, I think, get like the Poseidon. You can get Poseidon. You can also get Lost in Space. If you like that movie, you can get that. But yeah, that's a good way to market that now. Good little remembering throw in for me. So some other individual releases other than the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles trilogy, which is amazing. Um, Film Masters is putting out two films. Film Masters, I've got these up here, so I might as well talk about them. Where are you, Film Masters? Oh yeah, Kansas City Confidential, which is, I believe, a film noir from 1952, starring John Payne. Lee Van Cleef is in the film too. So here's the description of the movie. A mysterious fellow contacts a trio of criminals to help with a bank heist. The four wear masks and remain strangers to each other. Planning to reunite in Mexico to divvy up the loot, John Rolfe, who's John Payne, the man they framed to take the heat, gets his charges dropped, and the police offer him a reward if he can help recover the cash. He agrees, and when one of the thieves meets his end, Rolfe assumes his identity to catch the crooks. So a little heist gone wrong or heist gone right and then wrong type of movie. But that is Kansas City Confidential. I saw it years ago. I remember really liking it. Um, and then we've got the movie, The Red House, starring. I've talked about film noir. Was starring that Edward G. Robinson? Yes, it is. So, Film Masters are preparing a Blu-ray release of Delmer Daves' The Red House, starring Edward G. Robinson, Lon McAllister, Judith Anderson, Rory Calhoun, and Julie London. The release is scheduled to arrive on the market this fall. I think the same thing with Kansas City Confidential. There was no release date on it. Um, just says arriving on the market this fall. Description: Meg lives with her adoptive parents, Pete and Ellen Morgan. When Nath, a classmate of Meg's, comes to help on their farm, Pete repeatedly tells Meg and Nath to stay out of the surrounding woods. Out of curiosity, they disobey, and Pete is irate, subsequently hiring Teller to guard the woods. As Pete's rage evolves into madness, the kids start to discover the dark secrets that are buried in the nearby land. That is The Red House, another film I'd seen many years ago at this point. It's probably due for a rewatch. Both of these movies have been released in the past by other Blu-ray companies or other companies that were, I think, kind of just utilizing public domain prints of these films or low-grade prints of these films and putting them on Blu-ray and then marketing and then selling them. But Film Masters is legit. Like they put out some stuff. They put out some good stuff, and they do do some work on these releases. They're not just putting them on their disc. And these are both limited edition releases from them with slipcovers. So I'm pretty sure they're going to do some type of work on it. At least I hope so. We shall see. We shall see. So that is Kansas City Confidential and The Red House. Let me go over to see what else we've got here. So, I might as well do this while I'm here. Let's get messed up because both of these movies are super messed up. New Wave Video. Let's see. New Wave Video. Let me go over to their Facebook page and see if I can get some details here. So, New Wave Video, this is the company that was just started by our friend John Matthews, and who's been here on Chasing Labels several times before. And their first two films are Rubber's Lover and Strange Circus. And they're both available now to pre-order from their website, New Wave Video. Let's see, is it? Yeah, newwavevideo.myshopify.com. That's their website where you can pre-order both of these. Um, and both of these movies are really dark and really messed up. uh, this is so. Let me just go over these details here. So, Rubber's Lovers from 1996. This was the last movie I watched in preparation for Chasing Labels. In preparation for this episode of Chasing Labels. It's a good thing I saved this for the end because after you watch this movie, I don't think you can watch another movie for a little while because this movie will blow your mind into smithereens. It will rock your world. This movie, if you've ever seen the movie Tetsuo the Iron Man, this is like that film. Yeah. I can't explain. I can't explain the experience I had watching this movie was unlike you have when you watch any movie or many movies. Cyberpunk, and here we go. Rubber's Lover. This is the description here. A cyberpunk nightmare drenched in industrial horror and psychedelic visions unfolds in this underground classic. Rogue scientists conduct sadistic experiments pushing the boundaries of sensory overload and drug induced psychic abilities, leading to madness and destruction. From the visionary mind of Shozen Fukui, who directed 964 Pinocchio, Rubber's Lover transports viewers into a world of tech sensory overload and mind-bending paranoia. This brutal fusion of body horror and high concept sci-fi is shot in stark black and white, creating a raw and visceral look at the fans of cyberpunk genre won't want to miss. That doesn't even begin to describe this movie. This movie is metal, monochrome, disgusting, horrific, mind-bending, psychedelic, monstrous, science fiction, dystopian, insane movie. And when you think the movie has pushed itself to its peak of all of those things, it goes even further. Oh, this movie's insane. And you can watch it currently on YouTube, or you can order this Blu-ray. Um, this is absolutely incredible film. Uh, Jaw-droppingly unique. Like I said, it is very similar to Tetsuo the Iron Man, which makes a lot of sense because the director, Shozen Fukui, worked on Tetsuo the Iron Man. So he took inspiration from Tetsuo the Iron Man, the movie that came out in 1989, and definitely incorporated into his film. The feeling is there, the insanity is there. I think it pushes the envelope maybe even more than that movie. I don't know. This movie took me out, guys. um, I this movie disturbed me to my core, rattled me to my core, and just after this movie, I was like, I can't watch another movie for a while after this. That's how because you don't see movies like this. And movies like this aren't made all the time. This is the same type of feeling I got when I watched, um, David Lynch's film for the first time. When I watched, oh my goodness, why am I'm completely blanking now. That's what happens when I get 2-3 hours into this. Um, Eraserhead. When I watched Eraserhead for the first time, that movie traumatized me because I wasn't prepared for that movie at all. This is like if you take Eraserhead and dial it up to 11 and beyond that. It is an insane movie. I don't know if you can recommend this movie to people because you won't be friends with them anymore. They won't want to talk to you after this. This movie is a trip into psychedelic insanity like you've never experienced. Anywho, special features. Director approved special edition 1080p high definition presentation of a new 4K restoration by New Wave Video from the original 16mm camera negative and sound negatives. New Rubber Visions, an interview with Shozen Fukui. New Posy Punk, Jasper Sharp on Rubber's Lover. New Technological Oblivion and Transcendence, Rubber's Lover video essay by Suzanne Bolin. Theatrical trailer booklet featuring new essays by Michelle Kisner and Stanley Luck. New slipcover artwork by Lucas Peveril and inner design by Grindhead Productions with original theatrical art on the reverse. Classy slipcover with UV spot gloss. Limited edition of 1,200 units. Spine number 1. So these will be numbered. And then next you've got Strange Circus. Um, this is a dark movie, guys. This is a dark movie. Um, this movie is very much in the same vein as I Saw the Devil, as Audition, as Park Chan Wook's Revenge trilogy. Like Old Boy and Lady Vengeance and Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance. It's very much in the vein of those films. Mie K, Park Chan Wook, Lee. Oh my goodness. What's the director of I Saw the Devil? Hold on, I always forget his name. Thing is, it's not like and it's crazy as I prepared this entire speech too. Kim Ji Woon, Kim Ji Woon. It's very much in the same vein as those films. Uh, very dark thematically, dealing with things that not only push the envelope, but I would say just go far beyond the envelope. Um, just obliterating the envelope and then pushing you to your wits end. Let's see. Strange Circus from 2005. Step into a world where reality and illusion intertwine in this haunting and surreal tale of identity, trauma, and hidden truths. When a mysterious writer named Taiko begins crafting a disturbing novel about a young girl named Mitsuko who is subjected to unimaginable abuse by her father, a story that blurs the lines between author and character, the boundaries between truth and fiction begin to dissolve. As these two elements collide, a dark and suspenseful mystery unfolds, culminating in a shocking climax that lingers in the mind long after the curtains fall. Um, yeah, this movie, like I said, incredibly dark, disturbing. This movie is definitely not for people who are sensitive to sexual abuse, physical abuse, mental abuse, trauma, all of those things. So I would not recommend this movie for those individuals. Director approved special edition, 1080p high definition presentation. New Aero Guru Circus, an interview with Sion Sono. New interview with actor Issei Ishida. New Strange Circus and Aero Guru Legacy. Video essay by Suzanne Bolin. Legacy 1 hour making of documentary and theatrical trailer booklet featuring new essays by Michelle Kisner and Nikodem Karolak. New design by Grindhead Productions and original theatrical trailer. Glassy slipcover with UV spot gloss. Limited edition of 1,000 units. Spine number 2. And I know the director of this film has gotten into a lot of trouble for a lot of kind of sexual abuse and things of that nature. So I can also understand if people do not want to support this director by buying or watching any of their film. That's obviously, your choice as an individual movie fan. The beautiful thing is about movies, you can choose which ones you want to watch and not want to watch. So I did want to, of course, mention that as well. But that is the new wave video releases of Rubber's Lover and Strange Circus, which you can pre-order right now at newwavevideo.myshopify.com. And I believe when are these coming out? Let me see. I don't know if they have dates on them yet. Mid-October. Mid-October. Okay. Okay. So let's move on to some other individual releases. See if I can find some of these. Let's go to Second Sight right now. So Second Sight. Here we go. So Second Sight, the Florida Project limited edition 4K UHD and Blu-ray plus standard editions released October 13th. Pre-order now. New 4K restoration produced by Sean Baker. New audio commentaries, over 4 hours of new bonus material, plus a 160-page hardback book. Now let me go over to the Second Sight website, I guess. Hold on, let me see if I can go to Blu-ray.com and get some. Oh no, I'm here. Never mind. I want to get a list of special features and stuff. Found them. So you have a dual format 3-disc edition, including one UHD and two Blu-rays with main feature and bonus features on both formats. New 4K master produced and approved by Sean Baker. UHD presentation in Dolby Vision HDR. Over 4.5 hours of new bonus material. So I have the original Blu-ray release of the Florida Project here in front of me. I still have this. I still have the stack of stuff from the Sean Baker interview we did back in June. If you haven't seen that interview yet, we did with Sean Baker, check it out. It is here. It is up here on the channel. Let's see. New audio commentary with Sean Baker, co-writer Chris Bergoch, and director of photography Alexis Azabe. New audio commentary by Kat Ellinger and Martin Conterio. Success story, a new interview with Sean Baker. Playing with the frame, a new interview with actor Willem Dafoe. A transformative experience, a new interview with actor Bria Venate. The Kids, a new interview with actors Brooklyn Kimberly, Prince, Valeria Cotto, and Christopher Rivera. So the little kids who were in the movie. Our origin story, a new interview with actor Brooklyn Kimberly. True Friendship, a new interview with actor Valeria Cotto. Overusing Freedom, a new interview with actor Christopher Rivera. Embrace the Chaos, a new interview with co-writer Chris Bergoch. Clearing the Brush, a new interview with producer Andrew Duncan. A different way of shooting, a new interview with producers Kevin Chinoy and Francesca Silvestri. A Sense of Imagination, a new interview with associate producer Samantha Kwan. Hotel to Home, a new interview with executive director of Community Hope Center, Reverend Mary Downey. Streets of 192, a new interview with casting coordinator Patty Wiley. Back to the Castle and On Location with Brooklyn Kimberly, Prince, Valeria Cotto, and Christopher Rivera. So they get the kids. They go back to the shooting locations. Wretched Splendor, Rohan Spong on the Florida Project. Under the Rainbow, Making the Florida Project. Archive cast and crew interviews, bloopers and outtakes. So the only thing this Blu-ray edition ever had, and this is the only one that's been around. This is the only Blu-ray that's been around. Under the Rainbow, Making the Florida Project, bloopers and outtakes, casting crew interviews. So I think all of these carry over, plus a plethora of new special features for this release of the Florida Project. Plus, it's getting a 4K UHD upgrade as well. And the movie was shot on relatively low, I think 16 millimeter. Actually, probably digitally, probably shot. But yeah, this was a very critically acclaimed film for Sean Baker when it came out. And he's been gracious enough to come on Chasing Labels twice now. So he came for his release of Takeout, which happened several years ago, which happened before he did his movie Anora. So he came to talk about Takeout, and then he came to talk about his release of Anora from Criterion, and as well as his release of Prince of Broadway. So he's been on here twice, so it's been a joy to talk with him. It's been an absolute miracle for me, I'll tell you guys that. I never thought I would be able to get to talk to an Academy Award-winning director in my lifetime. So it's been an absolute privilege and joy for me. I'm very excited. I still need to get his... there is a second sight release of Tangerine on Blu-ray. I still have the original Blu-ray release put out by Magnolia. I still have this. I've got to upgrade to the second sight Blu-ray of that. But yeah, so check out the Florida Project second sight 4K UHD release, which is coming out... When is this coming out, actually? October 13th. October 13th. I probably said it and completely forgot about it. Let me exit out of that. Let me go check. There's another... Yeah, that's... a couple of other second sight things. Actually, one big second sight thing I want to talk about. They are still working on their release of Possession. The amazing Andrei Zulawski film, which is an astounding work, starring Isabel Adjani and Sam Neill. It says possession update. We should have release date news within the next month and aiming for a release later this year. So when that news gets announced, we'll of course discuss it here on Chasing Labels. That's a big time release that people have been wanting and asking for and all that stuff. So we will talk about that. Also, another thing that happened is their Pusher Trilogy release got the release date got pushed. It says, due to an unexpected production delay, we sadly have to push our release date for the Pusher Trilogy to September 15th. We apologize for this delay. Okay, so that's all the news from Second Sight. Let's see. I did New Wave, I did Film Masters, Second Sight. Let's see if I can find some information about Sirius, which is the Deaf Crocodile release. Let me go over to the Deaf Crocodile Facebook page and see if I can get some release about this Hungarian film from 1942. They going deep into the Eastern European archives. Deaf Crocodile is. Oh, here it is. First thing they got on the docket. Um, it's new announcement day. If you're looking for a title to pair with your pre-order for the Treasures of Soviet Animation Volume 1, look no further than Sirius from 1942. Truly a marvelous rediscovery courtesy of the National Film Institute in Hungary. Director Akos D. Hamza's Sirius is an intensely romantic time travel film with overtones of the Christopher Reeve/Jane Seymour starring Somewhere in Time and Back to the Future. In the 1940s, brash Hungarian playboy travels back 200 years with a mad scientist to the mid 18th century world of wigs and pompadours, where he falls in love with a penniless opera singer and makes enemies of all the aristocratic fools he encounters, including his own great grandfather. But can he make it back to the present before dawn? Before dawn with his new love, or will he lose her forever? One of the first great divas in Hungarian film and music, lead actress Katalin Karaday, was yeah. So she stars in this. Um, oh, wow. She says Kathleen Kennedy was brutally tortured by the Nazis during World War II and saved the lives of a number of Hungarian Jewish children who were set to be executed by the Danube River, for which she was posthumously honored by the Yad Vashem, Israel's official memorial to victims of the Holocaust, beautifully restored from the original 35mm black and white nitrate negative by the NFI, and released for the first time on Blu-ray in the US by Deaf Crocodile in Hungarian with English subtitles. So this movie has some significant historical value to it as well. Sirius ships next month and is included for subscribers. So what we have here for special features is Sirius Vrk Film, which is this ultra rare behind the scenes footage of Sirius during production, was shot by a 19-year-old studio trainee and shows the director and the lead actor setting up for filming. Purchased as a 9.5mm amateur home reel in 1985 and recently preserved by the NFI in Budapest. How people find these things is an absolute amazing feat to me. It's a 3-minute behind the scene silent clip of the making of this movie. B-roll behind the scenes stuff. Like how do you find stuff like this? Crazy. New video interview with Georgi Raduli, director of the National Film Institute Film Archive, on the making and the preservation of Sirius, moderated by Dennis Bartok. New video essay by journalist and physical media expert Ryan Verrill. Hey, our buddy Ryan Verrill. Awesome. And film professor Dr. Will Dotson of Someone's Favorite Productions. New commentary track by Hall of Fame comics artist, film historian, and author Stephen R. Bissett. New artwork by Beth Morris. Blu-ray authoring by David McKenzie of Fidelity in Motion, another friend of Chasing Labels. Deluxe edition bonus content is a slipcase featuring new artwork by Richard Cox, 60-page illustrated book, new essay by film historian Rolf Giesen, new essay by film critic Walter Chaw, limited to 1,500 units. And you can find this on deafcrocodile.com, I think. They have a link here on, let me click the link, see where it takes me. Yep, takes me to deafcrocodile.com, where you can pre-order this. I'm very interested in this film, by the way. It sounds very intriguing to me. That is the movie Sirius. Let's see. We have The Medium by Treasured Films. Let's go to Treasured Films. Let's see. What are we doing? How are we doing on time? Okay. Closing in on 2 hours and 45 minutes. Let's see. Ba-ba-ba-bum. So we're over here at Treasured Films. Our buddies over at Treasured Films, who we did interview once upon a time. They're doing some good stuff over in England. Let's see what we've got here for um, Medium. The Medium. New title announced. Treasured Films is proud to acquire the atmospheric Italian gem Il Medium from 1980. As always, expect our release to be stacked with goodies. Pre-order link coming soon, along with some other Treasured Films title announcements. For now, take a look at the brand new artwork by Justin Coffey. Oh, that's it. All right then. Okay. Let's see what else we've got here. Let me go over to. Let's see. 101 is doing 2 releases. Let me go take a look over there. Buddies over at 101 Films. 101 Films. They're putting out, I know, a single release and then a box set. The box set is of movies that I believe have already been released. At least I've seen them for some other release. But let's see what we've got here. Let me scroll down. Scrolling. Where is that release? It's a release of a movie called Derelict. Let's see. I'm scrolling way past. I'm scrolling back to July. But yeah, July is long gone, people. Maybe let me go check Blu-ray.com. Yeah, let me go check Blu-ray.com. Because I see the box set, which is the Doll Man box set. Doesn't even show up on Blu-ray.com. Okay. Maybe I dreamt it up. Either we'll skip it for now just for the sake of time and my sanity, and we'll go to the Doll Man. The Doll Man Toy Box Demonic Toys Collection. So the Doll Man Toy Box X Demonic Toys Collection limited edition, released on October 6th. That's when that's coming out. Title number 46 in their black label. 101 Film presents Dollman Toy Box, Dollman X Toys Collection, bringing together Dollman from 1991, Demonic Toys from 1992, and Dollman vs. Demonic Toys from 1993 for the first time. This limited edition 5-disc set includes the main series of films as well as 5 full-length spin-offs, 2 Demonic Toys sequels, and the Baby Oopsie trilogy. Our release is packed with additional content, including new interviews with Full Moon founder Charles Band, composer Richard Band, and Billy Butler, director of the Demonic Toys sequels and the Baby Oopsie film series. Also included are archive extras across the feature films, including behind-the-scenes looks at Dollman, Demonic Toys, and Dollman vs. Demonic Toys. So I've seen Dollman, I've seen Demonic Toys, and I've seen Dollman vs. Demonic Toys. I haven't seen any of the others that are put on here. Yeah, but I thought I would just mention this for those of you who are interested. Yeah, so it has Dollman, Demonic Toys, Dollman vs. Demonic Toys, Demonic Toys 2, Demonic Toys vs. Jack Attack, and then Baby Oopsie Trilogy. Yeah, their website really does not do a good job of outlining all of the details on this. But anywho, I just thought I would mention it. It's a Blu-ray box set. I think Full Moon Features had put out something similar to this before. I don't know. I'm starting to wait. I'm starting to hit that 3-hour mark. Things are starting to fade. The mind is starting to go. But we shall power on. We shall power on. Let's see. Let's go to, what do we have left here? Let's see. Curzon. So Curzon is putting out 2 films, The Crimson Rivers and Central Station. Crimson Rivers has already been released a couple of times, actually. Um, Let me close out some of these tabs here so my computer doesn't overheat and explode. So Crimson Rivers, yeah, I believe is yeah, it was put out years ago on. Am I thinking of the same movie? Yeah, I am. The one with Jean Reno. I don't know why. Okay, let's just click on it. So Curzon is putting out a 25th anniversary release of Crimson Rivers. So the British label Curzon Film World is preparing 4K Blu-ray and Blu-ray releases of Matthew Kassavitz's The Crimson Rivers, which came out in 2000, starring Jean Reno, Vincent Cassel. Um, um, Two releases are scheduled to arrive on the market on October 13th. Description: Jean Reno and Vincent Cassel star in this grisly French crime thriller, co-written and directed by Matthew Kassovitz and newly restored in 4K. The two French policemen, one an experienced detective, the other a reckless rookie, are brought together by the clues from their respective cases. As more murders occur, the two cops uncover an increasing number of horrific details that all point to a dark conspiracy. I've talked about this movie before a couple of times. It's very much in the same vein as like Seven. After Seven came out, there was a bunch of kind of other movies that were trying to be like David Fincher, trying to be like Seven, and um, The Crimson Rivers is one of them. I believe Matthew Kassovitz directed the film. Let's see. I believe he directed. Did he direct the film La Haine? I'm gonna make me scroll all the way down. Okay, I'm not gonna do all that. Let me go over to IMDb. Let's see. Let me look up La Haine. Yes, Matthew Kassovitz did direct La Haine. Sorry, I completely blanked on if he did or not. That movie's a pure masterpiece, so that's why every time he pops up, I'm automatically intrigued. So yeah, that's Crimson Rivers. Let's see. Now let me look up now. Central Station. Hold on. This is actually an important release because it's the first time this movie, I believe, is getting a Blu-ray release at all. Well, not really. It got a release in France, got a release, I think, in Chile, and it got a release in Brazil. The reason why is it's a Brazilian film. Okay, this is a Brazilian film, and this movie is fantastic. This movie is excellent. It's directed by Walter Salles. Walter Salles is a great director. Um, Walter Salles is the director of a recent film that many of you are probably aware of. It got a huge critical acclaim last year, I believe. It's the movie I'm Still Here. The movie that came out in 2024. That movie is amazing. It's fantastic. Um, yeah, I gotta see if that movie's available to get because it's something I want to add to my collection. It's one of my favorites from last year, and it's an astonishing film, like truly powerful, powerful stuff. Coincidentally, so it's a long story here. Might as well. We're 3 hours in. We're gonna get into crazy land. Um, so I see many, many specialist doctors, and one just so happens to be from Brazil. And she's from Brazil, and then sometimes, I start talking, because doctors like to, have conversations about, hey, so what do you do for fun? What do you like? What are you into? All this kind of extra stuff, whatever. So I told her about the podcast, told her about, being into movies and stuff, and she asked me if I, knew about Brazilian film, Brazilian cinema, and I knew a little bit about it. Obviously, I know City of God and stuff like that and whatnot, and the film Black Orpheus and things like that. But she mentioned Walter Salles and she mentioned the film I'm Still Here, and then we started talking about other Walter Salles films too. And then I was like, oh, now I'm going to go home. I'm going to watch more Brazilian film, and so I went and I watched Central Station, and then I went back and talked to her about it. And the actress in this movie, Fernanda Montenegro, is like the Meryl Streep of Brazilian cinema. She's that well known. She's that well popular. She's that, that level of talent where she is the Meryl Streep of Brazilian cinema. And after watching Central Station, I was like, yeah, that is exactly who she is, because she's incredible in this movie. So, for those of you who've never seen Central Station, an emotive journey of a former school teacher who writes letters for illiterate people and a young boy whose mother has just died in search for the father he never knew. So, this woman, portrayed by Fernanda Montenegro, works at a train station. She works at a train station and she writes letters or does any type of writing for people there. Like if they want to send telegrams, they want to send letters, whatever the case may be. And they don't know, then they're illiterate. They don't know how to read. You would be surprised how many people don't know how to read and write or compose letters and things like that in the world. You'd be very surprised. But anywho, that's what she does. That's what she does for a living. And then one day, this woman and her son, they want to write a letter to, um, essentially a long lost, estranged father. And and what happens is this woman, she ends up getting hit by a bus and dies, and this young boy has nobody else. He is just he just stays at this train station because he doesn't know where to go or what to do. And she ends up taking him in, and then she ends up now trying to help him find his father. And they go on this long, road trip through Brazil. And Brazil is a large country. If you look on a map, Brazil is a massively large country. So it's a long journey. And of course, it's not only a physical journey, it's a personal journey, it's a mental journey, it's a journey of existential proportions. And the movie is incredibly beautiful. So it's getting a 4K UHD release from Curzon. I don't have any special feature information for it here in front of me. Um, I'm hoping it gets something. I'm hoping it gets a release here because Curzon it's a 4K is region free. So we'll see if somebody here picks up the rights to it. I don't know. Perhaps Aquino, perhaps somebody else. Who knows? I'll keep my eyeballs out for it. But if it doesn't, I'll definitely pick up this release, and I want to see what the features are going to be for it. Let me see if there's even. Oh, there is a. Let's see. There's a Amazon pre-order for it. Or Amazon UK pre-order for it, rather. But I don't know what we're talking about for special features. But either way, the movie's amazing in and of itself. So it's called Central Station, directed by Walter Salles. Great film, excellent film. So now we get to the grand finale of episode or spine number 171 of Chasing Labels, something that was literally announced today, and what I woke up to today, the Criterion November announcements for 2025, November of 2025, and we've got a group of films here like you would not believe. You would not believe this. So we have Stanley Kubrick's Eyes Wide Shut. We have Louis Buñuel's film Elle, part of his Mexican films. We've got Hell's Angels, the Howard Hughes film from 1930. My goodness, what a passion project nightmare that was. And then we have the glorious return of the Eclipse series from Criterion. And this is Eclipse series number 47, Abbas Kiarostami, early shorts and features. And then we've got an upgrade that I didn't see coming of the documentary Burden of Dreams, the making of Fitzcarraldo. It went from having just a DVD release now to a 4K release. And then we've got House Party. House Party is getting a 4K UHD release. And then we've got an upgrade from Blu-ray to 4K of John Hughes's The Breakfast Club, which I've actually been waiting for because I was literally just thinking the other day, I want to upgrade my copy of The Breakfast Club because I have a Universal Blu-ray release of it. And I was thinking, I need the Criterion. But is Criterion going to release it on 4K anytime soon? Well, yes, they are. It's going to come out in November. So we will start with that just because it's coming out November 4th. So the copy I have is the Universal Blu-ray remastered re-release that they did right before they came out with the Criterion Blu-ray. Universal remastered the movie and put out a new Blu-ray of it to replace their older Blu-ray, which didn't look very good. And then Criterion came out with their Blu-ray that everybody then went to buy, and then now we have a 4K. So it gives you a little rundown there. So it's the same. I'm assuming it's the same special features as the Blu-ray had. I don't think there's anything new here. I mean the Criterion Blu-ray specifically. Um, Let me see what we have. And I don't know if I need to explain this movie to people or describe it to people. It's the classic of classic 1980s Brat Pack film from John Hughes. It's quintessential for that era of, teenage angst and whatnot. You've got let's see, one, two, three, four, five people who are stuck in Saturday detention, and each of them are a different part of the social class of teenage high school life. You've got the jock, you've got the popular pretty girl, you've got the outcast weird girl, you've got the geek, and you've got the troublemaker, the bad boy. You probably know this cast. It's what's it, Judd Nelson, Emilio Estevez, Molly Ringwald, let's see, Anthony Michael Hall, and what's her name, Ali Sheedy, and Ali Sheedy. Yeah, it's a classic, all time classic movie. Let's see, we have a new 4K digital restoration with uncompressed monaural soundtrack, alternate 5.1 DTS master audio soundtrack, one 4K disc, one Blu-ray disc. It is Dolby Vision HDR for those of you who care about things like that. Audio commentary featuring actors Anthony Michael Hall, Judd Nelson, interview with actor Molly Ringwald and Ali Sheedy, and other members of the cast and crew. Video essay featuring director John Hughes's production notes, read by Nelson. 15 minutes of deleted and extended scenes, promotional and archival interviews, excerpts from a 1985 American Film Institute seminar with Hughes, radio interview with Hughes, audio interview with Ringwald from an episode of This American Life. Okay. Okay. Plus, you get an essay by author and critic David Camp, cover based on the original theatrical poster by Annie Leibovitz. Yeah, it's the original theatrical poster for the cover, which Criterion doesn't do most of the time. Anywho, let's move over to House Party. I have not seen this movie probably 15 years. Easy. I remember this movie when I was a kid. So this movie came out in 1990. And this is another time. I don't know why this happened. This happened to me a lot throughout my life as a young kid. I would always see the sequel to movies first and then go back and watch the first films. Happened to me all the time. It happened to me with Back to the Future. When I saw Back to the Future 2 before I saw Back to the Future 1, don't ask me how. Honestly, it's because my parents didn't care. Not that they didn't care, but it's like, hey, I want to watch Back to the Future. Okay. They only have Back to the Future 2 available to rent. So there you go. We'll watch that. I think I may have seen Temple of Doom before I saw Raiders of the Lost Ark. I think so, but anywho, it was a trend. But it was the same with House Party. I saw House Party 2 before I saw House Party. House Party 2, I think, was a direct-to-video sequel, if I recall. Don't quote me on that. It may have been. But either way, House Party is kind of an all-time classic. It really is a comedy classic at this point, and cultural classic as well. So, House Party, in this dazzling, imaginative teen comedy, the breakthrough feature debut by writer-director Reginald Hudlin, a hip-hop duo Kid and Play bring their star power to the big screen as aspiring MCs preparing for the party of the year. When Kid's father, Robin Harris, forbids him from attending Play's party, Kid sneaks out anyway, kicking off a wild night full of dance-offs and rap battles, run-ins with bullies and cops, and bits of romance. With an ensemble cast that also includes Tisha Campbell, AJ Johnson, Martin Lawrence, Darryl Chill Mitchell, and members of the music group Full Force, plus a hit soundtrack. House Party is a beloved, feel good snapshot of early 90s hip hop culture that brought black teenage experience to the mainstream. And that shines right to this day. And that is why it is culturally relevant, because it is putting a culture on the big screen and in pop culture that doesn't get explored a lot on the big screen, really, especially for its time. We're talking 1990 here. Obviously it's much different now, but House Party is just it's a great time. It's a great time. Yeah, it's all of that stuff that if you know, like, teenage coming of age films, specifically ones that take place in one night. I'm thinking of, like, Dazed and Confused, which came out in 1993. I'm thinking of Can't Hardly Wait, which is set at a party, all in one night. Then you've got, like, other more raunchier comedies of, like, teenage angst, so things like American Pie and Road Trip. Well, Road Trip's a little bit more college age too, and the same thing with, like, Animal House, or Revenge of the Nerds is also college age. But I'm talking teenage age stuff. Yeah, House Party. What an inspired addition to the collection. And what's also great is we've got new features here too. So, new 4K digital restoration supervised by director of photography Peter Deming and approved by writer director Reginald Hudlin with a 4.0 surround sound DTS HD master audio. Why 4.0? I don't know. One 4K UHD disc of the film presented in Dolby Vision HDR, and one Blu-ray with the film and special features. So, new audio commentary with featuring the director Hudlin, new conversation featuring Hudlin, producer Warrington Hudlin, and film scholar Raquel Gates. New cast reunion featuring actors B. Fine, Bow-Legged Lou, and the legend Paul Anthony of Full Force, Tisha Campbell, AJ Johnson, Christopher Play Martin, Darryl Chill Mitchell, and Christopher Kidd Reed. House Party, 1983, the student short by Reginald Hudlin, on which his feature film is based. So, and then you have a plus an essay by author Michael Harriot. Yeah, this is a definite buy for me. Um, Man, yeah, what a blast from the past. Let's see, Burden of Dreams. So, Burden of Dreams is a documentary I'm pretty sure many people have seen. But let's run through it too. And for nearly 5 years, acclaimed German filmmaker Werner Herzog desperately tried to complete one of the most ambitious and difficult films of his career, Fitzcarraldo, the story of one man's attempt to build an opera house deep in the Amazon jungle. Documentary filmmaker Les Blank captured the unfolding of this production, made more perilous by Herzog's determination to shoot the most daunting scenes without models or special effects, including a sequence requiring hundreds of indigenous Peruvians to pull a full-size 320-ton steamship over a small mountain, sorry. The result is an extraordinary document of the filmmaking process and a unique look into the single-minded mission of one of cinema's most fearless directors, and probably one of its most insane. A new 4K digital restoration, supervised by filmmaker Harold Blank, director Blank's son, with 5.1 surround DTS master audio, alternate uncompressed monaural soundtrack, one 4K disc, one Blu-ray disc with the special features, audio commentary featuring Les Blank, editor and sound recordist Maureen Gosling, and Fitzcarraldo director Werner Herzog. Interview with Herzog as well. Werner Herzog Eats His Shoe, 1980, a film by Blank. That's something you have to witness. Deleted scenes, behind-the-scenes photos taken by Gosling, and then, of course, a trailer, and then there's an essay by film scholar Paul Arthur, and a book of excerpts from Blank's and Gosling's production journals. What a it's a notorious documentary. Like, we're talking, it's right up there with Hearts of Darkness in terms of documentaries you have to see. Let's take a look at the Eclipse series that they are bringing back from death. They really are. They haven't put out an Eclipse series. Oh, I'll take a look, but I don't think they put out an Eclipse series in many years. Many years. Let's see, Eclipse series 46. Actually, no, not 46. 40. Yeah, 46. Let me see. Yeah, that's the Ingrid Bergman Swedish films. Swedish years set that I have, actually. Where is it? Oh, it could be anywhere at this point. Trying to think of where it would be in my collection. Either oh, what? I think it's right there. Hold on, hold the phone. I think I see it over there on a shelf. No, no. Yes, I do. Here it is. Here it is. Here it is. So I did have it separate. So I had it actually with the Agnes Varda Eclipse set that I have now, which is kind of irrelevant because all those movies are in the Agnes Varda box set. But this is the last Eclipse set that Criterion put out in 2018. They put out Ingrid Bergman's Swedish Years. I remember buying this at Barnes and Noble. I remember that they had to go in the back and get it because they didn't have it on the shelves yet during the sale. And I'm such a big fan of Ingrid Bergman. Like I said, she's my favorite actress of all time. That I needed to get this set, and this is her films that she did when she was in Sweden before she came over to do American cinema and stuff like that. I think we would come over, work with Alfred Hitchcock, and then work with Roberto Rossellini, get exiled from Hollywood, and have to make. Well, no, she worked in Hollywood, then worked with Rossellini, and then got exiled, and then had to make movies in Europe. Anywho, we have Ingrid Bergman's Swedish Years, Eclipse series number 46, and this was the last one they put out. And I think a lot of the Eclipse sets, I think all of them have just gone out of print. Like they just don't make them anymore. I don't even see them in the Criterion Closet videos anymore. If you go back and watch some older Criterion Closet videos, you would see all of them lined up together. You would see all of these spines like lined up together on one of the shelves or on the shelves, and you don't see those anymore. So I don't know what happened to them. All I know is they're bringing them back now. So not only are they bringing them back, but let me take a sweet gander here. They're Blu-rays now. Okay, so that's a bit of a change. So the Eclipse sets were only DVDs. They were only DVDs, and I'm pretty sure they weren't like restored, or a lot of work was done to make these films look amazing. There's no special features on the Eclipse sets. Basically, the Eclipse sets were to only put these movies that probably would have never seen the light of day on the DVD format, to put them on disc essentially. For like like hardcore cinephiles, really, you would get. I think the first set they ever did was like early Bergman films. They did Akira Kurosawa's films, like before the war, before World War II, and then like after World War II. They did, like I said, they did an Agnes Varda set. They did one called Up All Night with Robert Downey Sr. I have that set. And they did some late Ozu, they did early Ozu silent film sets. Really stuff that, like I said, would never be collected anywhere else. They did a late Satyajit Ray set, which I have. It's in my Satyajit Ray section of my collection. But yeah, these Eclipse sets were great because, like I said, these are the only way to see these movies on disc anywhere. But now they're bringing them back, and now it's a Blu-ray and not just DVD. The glare here is really, really bad. I wonder why the focus is all over the place. Let's see. No, it should be fine. But anywho, you guys can see that, right? No, not like you can hear me. You guys can see this, right? But this set here had The Count of the Old Town, Walpurgis Night, Intermezzo, Dollar, A Woman's Face, and then June Night. Um, yeah, they came in thin packs. I wonder if they're still going to be in thin packs going forward. We shall see. We shall see. But let's get into what this set entails, the one that they just announced, the Abbas Kiarostami set. Let's put this off to the side somewhere. Oh, I didn't like the way that sounded. I hate hear when you put something on something and you hear some sound you don't like. Never a good thing. So let's go over to what we got here. So Eclipse Series 47, Abbas Kiarostami early shorts and features. Long before he became one of the most renowned artists in world cinema, the great Iranian filmmaker Abbas Kiarostami began his cinematic career as Tehran's at Tehran's Institute for the Intellectual. Um, I lost my place. At Tehran's Institute for the Intellectual Development of Children and Young Adults, also known as Kanun, where he honed his distinctive style and themes during his first decades as a filmmaker. Kiarostami moved freely among documentary, narrative, and even animation, and between joyous short films made for children and subtle works exploring the struggles of adolescence. Often using the classroom as a laboratory, he probed social and political tensions in Iranian society during the turbulent years before and after the 1979 revolution, spanning his very first short, Bread and Alley, which the director called the mother of all my films. Other under other boy other underseen early revelations like Experience and The Traveler and nonfiction masterpieces such as Homework, the graceful, warm, and playful works collected here find moments of transcendent poetry within everyday life and use deceptively and simple premises to express universal truths about the human condition. These release features 2K oh boy, I gotta gather myself. This release features 2K restorations undertaken by MK2 in collaboration with Limousin Ritrovata. And the films are uh, Bread and Alley, Break Time, Experience, The Traveler, Two Solutions for One Problem, So Can I, Colors, A Wedding Suit, Tribute to Teachers, Solution Number One, First Case, Second Case, Toothache, Orderly or Disorderly, The Chorus, Follow Citizen, First Graders, and then Homework. Like I said, this is a Blu-ray release, and there is an special feature here is an essay by critic Asan Koshbakht. I think that's how you pronounce it. Probably not. I probably butchered it. I apologize. But like I said, this is a nice 17 film set. That's how many there are. I think let me go check. Hold on. So they sent an email about this last week when it was announced, and I wanted to read something from it because I think there's a familiar name that's now in charge of reviving the line. Let's see. Ba-ba-bum, ba-ba-bum. I need like elevator music. So, yes, the email that I got, and pretty sure many people got, is called Eclipse is Back. Criterion to revive celebrated Eclipse home video line in November, which we have. A series of rare films relaunches on Blu ray with early works by Abbas Kiarostami, most never before released on disc. There you go. Yeah, so Eclipse series editor is Imogen Sarah Smith. Imogen Sarah Smith, you may have heard her name on many a Criterion or just physical media release of classic movies. So Imogen Sarah Smith is, I think, part of this revival. I think that's my assumption here. Um, so yeah, I just thought that would be a nice little tagline for that. And she wrote up a whole thing here on the Criterion website about uh, about the Eclipse series and all things like that. So you can go on there and read that if you would like to. But let's move on to what else we've got here. Because we've got Hell's Angels. Yes, we do. So Hell's Angels, a high-flying feat of adventure filmmaking and a testament to the audacious, spare no expense vision of Howard Hughes. This landmark aviation epic remains exhilarating both for its daredevil aerial sequence and its nervy pre-code punch. With the onset of World War II, two British brothers recruited into the Royal Flying Corps find their bond tested by their differing attitudes toward the war and their love for the same woman, Jean Harlow, in her first bombshell breakthrough role. The product of a notoriously long and dangerous production that resulted in the deaths of multiple crew members, Hell's Angels broke new technical ground, making use of early sound and color technologies and capturing some of the most thrilling dogfight scenes ever filmed. If you've seen Martin Scorsese's The Aviator, which is a biopic on Howard Hughes, you saw some of the making of this movie in them reenacting that, if you will. Um, Yeah, no, Howard Hughes had a lot of money and a lot of ambition, and he certainly utilized both of those things. So the making of this movie is notorious for being incredibly long, incredibly dangerous, incredibly, like I said, groundbreaking in terms of shooting dog fights and special effect. Well, not even special effects, but just like shooting dog fights and putting that on screen and all this kind of stuff. Dog fights, and I mean like airplanes, battling each other and things like that. It's a really, yeah, it's an unprecedented film for its time. So let's see what we have for special features. New 4K digital restoration of the Magnoscope Roadshow version with uncompressed binaural soundtrack, one 4K UHD disc of the film. Let's see what else do we got here. One 4K UHD disc of the film and one Blu-ray with the film and features. New interview with Robert Legato, the visual effects supervisor for the Howard Hughes biopic, The Aviator. There you go. On the groundbreaking aerial visuals of Hell's Angels. Excuse me. New interview with critic Farron Smith Neame about actor Jean Harlow, outtakes and rushes from the film with commentary by Harlow biographer David Sten, and then English subtitles for the deaf and hard of hearing, plus an essay by author and journalist Fred Kaplan. New cover by Sam Hadley. That's the cover art, which looks really cool. Yeah, so that is Hell's Angels, the Howard Hughes film from 1930? Believe it is. Yes, it is. Howard Hughes would then go on. I don't want to go on a whole Howard Hughes like biography rant here, but why not while we're here? Howard Hughes would then go on to own like RKO Studios, and I think like in the 40s he would buy RKO and kind of ran it into the ground. But anyway, that's just kind of neither here nor there. But let's see what we got here. I think we're coming up to the final film here. It's oh no, we have two more left. Here is the film L, by Louis Buñuel. I just saw Guillermo del Toro tweet about his excitement that this film is coming out. Guillermo del Toro, ever the cinephile, if you will, and collector of Criterions too. Um, his his Criterion Closet video is one of my favorites. It really is. Um, let's see. So Louis Buñuel's L, Spanish surrealist master Louis Buñuel's fiendish tale of love gone wrong is the most perverse and unsettling films he made during his 2 decades of exile in Mexico. Folding his own neuroses into an adaptation of Mercedes Pinto's autobiographical novel, Buñuel crafts an expressionistically stylized nightmare in which a young woman discovers that the outward sophistication of her new husband masks disturbing depths of jealousy and paranoia. A characteristically raw indictment of religious and social hypocrisy. Buñuel loved to do that. He loved it. Elle stands as the director's greatest excursion into melodrama, a vivid portrayal of society's inability to restrain irrational urges of the human id. I want this movie now. I want it now. Had this had been announced last week, I would have watched this immediately to talk about the movie for the show. I've always loved Louis Buñuel's work. I've got a Louis Buñuel section in my collection. Um, yeah, I've always loved his work. It was when I started getting into surrealism, I discovered Louis Buñuel and his surrealism work and just got enveloped in it. It's um, Exterminating Angel and Belle de Jour, Viridiana. So much of his work is so incredible. Um, yeah, what was actually let me look right now. I know I'm trying to go off the top of my head. The Discreet Charm of the Bourgeoisie, The Phantom of Liberty, The Simon of the Desert. There's that Louis Buñuel, 3 films by Louis Buñuel box set from Criterion, where it's got Discreet Charm of the Bourgeoisie, the Phantom of Liberty, and the Obscure Objects of Desire. It's a set I've always wanted to get. I don't think they sell them individually yet. Let me check. No, I think they're all in the box. They're all still in the box. Okay, let me see what we got for special features. New 4K digital restoration supervised by photographer Gabriel Figueroa Flores, director of photography Gabriel Figueroa's son, with uncompressed monaural soundtrack, one 4K disc, one Blu-ray disc with the film and special features. New video essay on director Louis Buñuel by scholar Jordi Zifra. Appreciation by filmmaker Guillermo del Toro. There you go. Interview with Buñuel from 1981 by Jean-Claude Cahier, a longtime collaborator of the directors. Panel discussion from 2009, moderated by filmmaker Jose Luis Garcia. Yeah, and then you get a video. You have a not video essay. You have a regular essay here by critic Fernanda Solorzano, and interview with Buñuel by critic Jose de la Colina and Thomas Perez Torrent. Yeah, that's the movie L by Louis Buñuel. When did this movie come out? 1953. Okay. Black and white in Spanish. It's by number 1289. We're getting up there. We're getting up there. And then, last but certainly not least, the movie that people have been waiting for to enter the collection. This has been rumored for a little while. There's been an anticipation for it over the last few weeks. It kind of leaked out that this was going to happen eventually, or very, very soon. This is Stanley Kubrick's last film, Eyes Wide Shut. Now, starring Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman, plus several others. This movie, and one of my hottest takes you'll ever hear from me, is this. I think this movie is a masterpiece. This is the movie that, after watching this film, cemented for me that Stanley Kubrick is my favorite filmmaker of all time. After watching this movie, I was just absolutely floored by it. Yeah, that's my hot take. Is that I think this movie's a masterpiece, a masterwork from a master director. I've had it in my collection for years. I've had it on DVD. I've had it here on this older Blu-ray that's been around for a very long time. I even turned my Blu-ray into my own Blu-ray combo pack, where I've got the 2-disc DVD set as well as the Blu-ray to go along with it. So basically, I just got a 3-disc Blu-ray case and put the Blu-ray and the DVDs in here as well. And then also I took the Stanley Kubrick documentary disc of Stanley Kubrick: A Life in Pictures, and I put it in this little paper sleeve thing, and I put it in this edition as well. If you've never seen Stanley Kubrick: A Life in Pictures, it's a great documentary, fantastic documentary. And I don't think it's part of this edition. So let me go. Speaking of which, let me go over the special features. But before I do so, if you've never seen Eyes Wide Shut, it's definitely his most daring film. I would say so. Stanley Kubrick's career-capping Eyes Wide Shut unfolds in a dreamscape vision of New York City, where Dr. Bill Harford, Tom Cruise, and his wife Alice, Nicole Kidman, confront the unconscious desires, jealousies, and fears threatening their marriage. A Christmas-time odyssey into a surreal sexual underworld whose hidden power infrastructure are laid frighteningly bare. The film marks the fulfillment of the director's decades-long desire to adapt Arthur Schnitzler's novella Dream Story, and the culmination of his obsessive interest in the relationship between institutional authority and the individual. Released in 1999, the film also serves as a fitting coda to a century of cinema by one of its greatest visionaries, an endlessly tantalizing labyrinth whose myriad symbols, mysteries, and meanings are still being unraveled. This movie is, like I said, an astonishing work by an all-time master, in my opinion. Of course, it's my subjective opinion, and that's the case. To others, perhaps not. I know there are many people. I know there are many people who do not like the movie. I know there are many people who think I'm crazy for thinking it's a masterwork of a masterpiece of a movie. I gotta get it. Movies are subjective, but that's kind of the way I've always felt about it. So the fact that it's getting a 4K UHD Criterion release is a big thing for me. The cover of this is incredible. I do want to read the little thing. So the new cover based on the original poster by Katharina Kubrick and Christian Kubrick. So this was supposed to be the original poster of the movie. and I guess the studio was not into it, so they went with the more traditional poster that you've seen around here. That it's got Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman in an embrace, if you will. That's the more traditional poster that you've seen. But this poster design is kind of what the original poster design was supposed to be. But for special features, let's get into why I love this movie so much. You may be wondering. This movie is a haunting film. This movie is a suffocating, haunting, tense film with an exploration of so many different things. Not only sexual themes, but it's about relationships, about marriage, it's about the power structure and authority. It's about secrets, it's about lies, it's about truths, it's about so many different things. Um and Tom Cruise, man. I know Tom Cruise may be known as a certain type of actor, but this was one of the movies where he pushed himself, relentlessly hard to be something more than I think what people assume he is as an actor. Kind of one of the last times he did that. After this, he would be in the movie Magnolia, the Paul Thomas Anderson film, which is a strong film for him. And then after that, he was in Tropic Thunder, doing some physical work there and comedic work and whatnot. But he's kind of going back into doing Mission Impossible movies. He did a Top Gun movie. He's kind of doing these relatively safer works now. So I like to see him back in the day when he was pushing himself as an artist, as an actor, really giving it his all. And this movie took years to make. The one thing with Kubrick, he took years in between his films because it took him that long to make these movies. He was a perfectionist of perfectionists. You've heard stories of him doing 100 takes in The Shining, and it's true. He did over 100 takes for some time for some takes. Just a relentless perfectionist. To the point where he only made what 12 or 13 movies in his multiple decades career, because he took so long to make his films because he was so meticulous. But I don't need to go on a huge thing about that. But this movie has always wowed me because of how far it pushed its boundaries, how haunting and mesmerizing, dreamlike, surreal this movie is. Really captured my mind. And I love movies that try to be something grander than what movies are perceived to be. And this movie, I think, does that. So let's see. New 4K digital restoration of the international version of the film, supervised and approved by director of photography Larry Smith, with a 5.1D surround DTS HD master audio, one 4K disc with the film in Dolby Vision HDR, and two Blu-rays with the film and special features. So, new interview with the DP, new interview, yeah, with the director of photography, Smith, uh, and second unit photographer, no, photographer and second unit director Lisa Leone, and Stanley Kubrick archivist Georgina Orgil. Or archival interview with Christian Kubrick, director Stanley Kubrick's wife, Never Just a Dream from 2019, featuring interviews with producer Jan Harlan, Catherine Kubrick, Stanley Kubrick's daughter, and Anthony Fruin, Kubrick's personal assistant. Lost Kubrick, the unfinished films of Stanley Kubrick from 2007. Kubrick Remembered, 2014, featuring interviews with actors Todd Field and Lily Sobieski, and filmmaker Steven Spielberg, who was a personal friend of Stanley Kubrick. Kubrick's 1998 acceptance speech for the Directors Guild of America D.W. Griffith Award. Press conference from 1999 featuring Harlan and actors Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman. And that is it. Well, you get teasers and trailers too. And then you get an essay by author Megan Abbott and a 1999 interview with actor Sidney Pollack, who is in the movie as well. Sidney Pollack was, an actor and director as well. Yeah, just really, it's a day. It was a heck of a day to be a Criterion fan, heck of a day to be a cinephile, heck of a day to be a collector. Um, really, really was. So I want to definitely, yeah, like I said, it was a Heck of a day. Sorry, I just got a little distracted. I wanted to check up on something really quickly, and I did. But um, yeah, it's a heck of a movie. Let's see. We have some comments here before we go. Because we are hitting, was it 3 hours and 33 minute mark? Let's see what we got here. Some commentaries. Look like Adam Schofield is here with us. Adam says, "Hi, Andrew. Eyes Wide Shut was nearly an 80s comedy starring Steve Martin. That would have been a tragedy of cinematic proportions." Not that I don't like Steve Martin, but oh boy. I like the film. It's beautifully shot, but I understand why people find it sluggish. Like I said, same here. Same here. Adam Schofield also says Tom Cruise's pregnant pauses get a bit much, but that's not his fault. And then Adam Schofield also says, "It's funny. The first time I saw it, I thought it was incredible. Watched it again the next day. I went a bit lukewarm with it. Now I'm a bit halfway. Interesting." I will admit that I've only seen the movie maybe once or twice, so obviously my perception of it is limited to that. Movies do tend to change on rewatches, multiple rewatches, and stuff like that. I would love to do a nice Stanley Kubrick movie marathon or movie journey through his work. I did recently rewatch Fair and Desire because I bought the Kino 4K and I wanted to see how it looked. And I have to say, that looks revelatory considering um how the movie was made, when the movie was made, how old the movie is, and just what probably the state of the elements were of that movie. The 4K looks revelatory in terms of visual quality. Like, what a masterwork of a restoration for Fear and Desire. The movie itself is still like an early, you can tell it's a super early work from Stanley Kubrick, where he's kind of just trying things out. And you can see a little hint of certain Stanley Kubrickisms in there, but they're faint. They're very faint. But I would love to kind of go on a journey through there as well. I've been up and slowly upgrading his stuff. There was also a rumor that his Lolita film was going to get a Criterion announcement soon as well. Perhaps that will come next month. Who knows? I know that like this was that Eyes Wide Shut was rumored along with it, so I thought they would have done them together, but maybe they want to put do one now and then do one afterward. Perhaps that's the case. I don't really know, but that movie could use some special features too. That movie I don't think has any special features. That Blu-ray from I think Warner Brothers. Let's see. Also, I do want to point out that um, this does mark another collaboration between Warner Brothers and Criterion. Yeah, the Lolita Blu-ray does not have any special features. I think it was a modern miracle that that movie actually got a Blu-ray release at all back in 2011. Let's see. There are some special features on this Warner Brothers Blu-ray um from with this Warner Brothers Blu-ray from back in the day. You've got the digitally remastered movie for the first time in North America, unrated international version, Channel 4 documentary, The Last Movie, Stanley Kubrick and Eyes Wide Shut, new featurette, Lost Kubrick, The Unfinished Films of Stanley Kubrick, interview gallery featuring Tom Cruise, Nicole Kidman, and Steven Spielberg, Kubrick's 1998 Directors Guild of D.W. Griffith Award acceptance speech. So obviously those all cross over to this Criterion release as well. Yeah, but what you don't get, like I said, I think you can buy this individually only on DVD. Maybe, I don't know. It's this documentary here, which is Stanley Kubrick: A Life in Pictures. This is a really, really good documentary. Don't say yeah. So I had this because it came with a Stanley Kubrick collection DVD box set. And I wanted to keep it when I was transitioning from DVD to Blu-ray. I wanted to keep, my DVDs as intact as possible. So I started making these DVD Blu-ray combo packs myself. And sometimes you would get an extra disc you didn't know what to do with. So I just put it in a little sleeve there and put it in the case. But I'm going to go on before I go off on any more of a rant. Let me kind of close things out here for Chasing Labels episode number 171. We went through a plethora of things here during this spy number episode, and man, what a nice release week. last 2 weeks have been. We got plenty more coming too. So definitely stick around. We will be back here for Chasing Label for another episode of Chasing Labels in 2 weeks. Um, so it will be here on September 2nd. So that will be obviously the day after we get the announcements from Vinegar Syndrome and the Vinegar Syndrome partner labels. That should be fun, giving me absolutely no time to get into any of those. But in the meantime, we do have a new episode up of Movies Down Memory Lane, the show I do with Stephen Billings, as well as our friend Dan Skip Allen, where we pick out a movie that's near and dear to us and we kind of talk about it. Basically, this past episode we did Field of Dreams, which was Steven's pick. Next, we will be doing The Dark Knight. That will happen in uh, 2 weeks' time as well. I think that will be happening the 30th, actually. That will be happening the 30th. Um, and that was actually my pick. And then between then and now, I think we will be doing another episode of The Unwatched Pile, which will be, I want to say, I don't know if it's the 25th. Let me see. Let me check my schedule on my phone. Good thing I write these things down because I can't keep track of anything. Yes, the Unwatched Pile with our friend Tony will be the 25th at 9 p.m. So stay tuned for that, plus whatever else we've got going here on the Chasing Labels YouTube channel, which is one of the several places you can find all of this stuff. You can find the video form of the show here on Chasing Labels, plus the video form of Movie Mutations, as well as the Unwatched Pile, as well as various shorts that I do and whatnot. You can find the audio version in various places where you can find audio podcasts like Apple Podcast, Google, Spotify, etc. And yeah, that is it. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for listening. Thank you all for supporting the channel. Also, sometime soon, I'm just waiting for confirmation from Steven. There will be a Chasing Labels store where you can buy certain Chasing Labels merchandise, plus some other movie-related things as well. So that is coming soon too. But hey, keep on watching the movies because I know I will.